Alright, I'm going to record on my computer a little bit instead of my phone. Just to try to do a recap on what this is all about. And so I'm going to start over from the beginning here and do another story. Take a couple puffs off my pipe and I'll get started. Please be seated. Tonight's feature will begin momentarily. Remember to videotape the whole thing. I might have to close this window. It's going to be raining right here where my electric plug is. Maybe not though. We'll see. No, just alright, how about I live in an RV. I don't know if I mentioned that. I hope this is not a dorky message. Alright, yeah, this is going to be like a 45-minute message here, so here we go. I hope you have time and you're busy 365 hours a year for me. Alright, so the basics of the story are, I rent this practice studio, I'm checking it out. I noticed one day one of the walls is made out of wood, and I'm just curious whether or not there's just any more space behind there, because I just want a little bit more space for the rest of my gear. So I take down the panel, and then I'm like, well, there's a lot more space back here. What is this? So I notice it's kind of a hallway though, so I'm like, oh, okay, well, some sort of hallway though. So I'm like, ooh, kind of weird, but I'm gonna bring my light, my lamp, kind of drag it down there. And so, luckily I've got all these extension cords because I'm an audio guy. And so, I just get my longest extension cord and I go down the hall, right? So, I'm going down the hall and all's good. I'm twisting around the corridors and I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm looking at the walls and it's like partial wood, partial stone-like material, like cement or whatever. So it's getting darker and darker down there, and I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck, I don't know. So I go in and out of these tunnels many times because it's always there. I've been playing music my whole life. I'm not gonna not have a practice studio, So every time I go, after work or whatever, I keep taking down this thing, going like, alright, well, maybe I'll go a little bit deeper this time. And I get to a point where I find another elevator. I'm like, hey, this is not the same elevator because retracing my steps, going back upstairs, this is not the same elevator as the rest of the building, and that elevator's been closed down. So I'm like, well, okay, that's alright. I go and, this is where it gets fictional. I'm like, alright, I decide to use the extension cord. And my friend who he told me that he was stealing electricity, right? And so he'll show me how to rewire this thing, right? Or it could just be me. I don't know. He could be in it too. That'd be awesome. It's cool. And so we get the elevator thing going, right? And we're like, all right. So we're gonna go into an elevator. And so we're like, all right. A little scary, but I really meant it too much. And so I'm down there, and so it's this big cavern, right? And this part obviously could be elaborated with. This is why I want your input. Is because, it could be elaborated or cut to any great lengths or just a snip, it could just be a portion. Literally, it's a cavern, and the basics of it are that when you get to the main cavern, if there's other parts still, you know, going deeper and deeper, that's okay. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that it eventually leads to a train, a small train, a personal train, and it's on an electric track that is powered. So they are able to use the train, and they decide to go further into the train, and into the system, into the train system. And so they, as they are going down there, they pass these various, and this obviously could be elaborated into any kind of method, mode, etc. Basically, they discover a bunch of different attractions. They got a little map even, you know. When they find it, it's up to however we want to write for the intro of the show. They could either find it just straight off the train, maybe it's in somebody's place down the hall, you know, it's kind of like a mist game, but you choose your own adventure. It doesn't matter if you solve it wrong or right, it's just like life. And so they are going down, they find that there's these maps to these places, and so they're able to figure out that there are a bunch of different, like, shopping areas, I guess you would call them, but they have places to live that are like hotels, except that they are personal and that they have balconies and belongings, and they're not just, you know, like a hotel where you just bring a bag. They you know, they're meant to be lived in the underground world in a comfortable way. They got outside little parks and stuff. Obviously, it's an underground inside thing, so it's not like it's all living with living, you know, greenery, but it does have whatever could live in that, you know. And so the thing is, I haven't written a specific reasoning as to why they may or may not meet the undead in any particular order, as it doesn't really matter to me. They're down there, and they, you know, once they're discovered, obviously people in the current time, they'd be scared, but this isn't the same thing. Yes, we're scared, but that's just because they're dead. They're not like zombie retarded or trying to eat anybody. They're just like more like vampires in a way, except not even that. Just like me and you, just living people that are just dead. That's the only difference. You see, their desires are the same. They want to live, they want to feel right, they want to explore the world and be above the tunnel system, obviously. I mean, you know. And so the concept is this. They learn that these people are hired for the purpose of being the help for the tunnel system. And they were hired there back in the 1800s, if not maybe before, I don't know, something like that, basically. At least the 1800s, when they were developing this, it was already developed, but they were developing the city, and, you know, civilization was still coming to Houston. As far as technological stuff. And, the idea is this: they were hired and they were taken with the expectation that they would be paid, they would be given a great life, etc. They would be given a great way to retire and all this stuff, right? And that was all going to be fine, and it probably could be. The main thing that affected their lives was that one day there was a doctor who passed through, and he gave them all this. He sells the owner of the tunnels system, the guy who's actually employing the help. He sells them a healthcare package where he sells them a bunch of vaccinations that he brought with him, right? And he vaccinates all these people, checks their blood pressure, you know, basic stuff, and everything's fine. They're just having a normal life and everything. It could be there's more doctors. I was thinking it would be interesting to have more doctors there. Obviously, there's more than just a few people there. It's like a mall, kind of, you know, like Basically, it's like the underground tunnel system of Houston, but a part of it that was older, and it's now not connected, and it goes the opposite direction to Galveston, which makes sense, right? Because it's so close, but yet so far, especially in the 1800s. You know, you would get there to Galveston, and you had to go to Houston if only there's a train system there, right? And there were probably, but then, you know, what if there was a train that people didn't know you were on? Because, you know, there was, at this time, a lot of very, very smart thieves that would follow rich people around. They would buy information, you know, all kinds of things off of dirty accomplices, etc. I mean, dirty business partners who are willing to, you know, give away the whereabouts because they are rich. And though, yeah, maybe they have banks and stuff, they have to travel great distances to do their business, right? So they want a place to just be like, if I wasn't so famous, because back in the day, maybe they're not celebrities, but as far as like, you know, the guy from Burlington Coat Factory or something, he's famous, you know? And it was much more personal because it was, people wanted to do things, people wanted to be people, not necessarily celebrities. They just wanted to be doctors or whatever, rich, wealthy people of any type. And so these rich, wealthy people, they had all this attention, and they want to go into their own thing. You know, I do my own, so I don't have to get robbed, I don't have to get stuck up, I don't have to get, you know, murdered. Just literally just stick a knife in me and take my $1,000 I have. You know, it's just like, just that. And so they built it. They built this tunnel that goes from Galveston to Houston. And it's just fine, but the thing is, it was a personal venture where the guy who owned it didn't want to just give it to anybody. He didn't want to be just like, this is just a free, pay your ticket and just trash this shit, and, you know, just write your dirty words all over it and smoke your cigarettes and then kick my ass, and then, you know, he just wanted his own personal shit. I mean, his own personal train, so he could do his own thing with his own personal friends and just do clean, good business. And then if he goes out into the world, he can wear a fake mustache or whatever, and maybe nobody even know he's there. And so, you know, everything is going well. He's been doing this. He can even hire people now. Takes them in. It's all going well. It's going well. It's bigger, better. He's very, very happy about it, right? And so, at this time, yeah, he takes the healthcare package. It's, you know, convinced it's going to prolong the lives of the help, basically, right? That's the key motivation. He says, yes, sign, they will live forever as far as I'm concerned. And so will this tunnel. So, yeah, not a big deal. Little did he know the consequences of that wish. So, everything seems to be fine. Eternal health, right? I mean, see, here's the thing. They don't know that's what it's for. It's not for that. I don't, if you got that impression that it was said on the fucking contract, they will live forever. No, absolutely not. If that's for anybody who wasn't paying attention there. No, yeah, that, it's just a healthcare package, vaccinations, basic shit. On his own, though, he does sneak in his own vaccination. Because he believes himself to be smarter than what people understand to be the world as he knows it, as he has, in his own life, traveled the world very far and has seen many strange things. Wizards, he would almost say. I mean, if there wasn't the word science, then that's the only thing he could say it was. And he himself has lived, he knows, longer than usual. And people always bring up how he is a young guy, you know, or whatever. They seem, to him, they seem just like they don't know. They just don't know. But in his eyes, he sees them all as immortals. He sees them as gods. And he makes the choice to share his current known prescription for what has happened to him biologically from his own personal laboratory experiments. Now, of course, how do you show this? Well, I'll write it out in a way that makes sense. Basically, I'll just say this. This is not the actual show. This is just watching how does a movie get made. Basically, he takes the, and you're like, well, here's the problem. What if the vaccination did nothing? Right? Well, the problem is he knows, and you can tell by the way he's saying it. He's asking her all these questions. Would you like to live forever? You know, it just seems, yeah, any doctor would have these visions, right? But the thing is, he knows in his own mind what he's doing. He knows that he's going to give her something extra special. He can even say that, it doesn't matter. I'll just say, there's a secret, there's an extra vaccination here. He can either say it or not, it doesn't matter, you know? But I guess it might be more romantic if we ask him. So, you can just, ask her, like, would you live forever if you had the choice? And so, she's probably going to say, well, probably not, or whatever, I'd want to die. He says, well, here's the thing, okay, how about it'll happen like this, it'll be a romance. So she realizes she loves him at one point, because he seems like he's seen the world, and he's so very handsome and all this, that, he can tell because he romances with a lot of women, he's a very rich man. But when she starts to pry, would you be coming back, and, is there any chance you would ever marry a person like me? That type of thing. He says, well, look, if I promise to love you forever, until, always be yours, would you live forever? And then she says, yes, she would. She will. And so he decides to go for it. And so, he could tell her or not, meaning he could be like, I have lived for 430 years already. And then she'll be like, impossible. And okay, well, it doesn't have to be 430 years, but perhaps he knows people that have lived that long. Or it could be the story that, he's like 170 years old or something like that, right? And then she'll be like, impossible, you look like you're 45. And then he'll say, well, I didn't always look this way. I had gotten older, and I decided to seek out ways to revive my youth. And so, he would show, so I'm going to take a puff of my pipe here. Alright, so basically the conversation goes, he inoculates her, etc. And, did I leave something out? Did I change this? What was I talking about? I didn't have the dialogue already done. Let's see. I'm talking about the woman and the man and how they're falling in love and how she makes the decision that she says she would stay forever with him if she had the chance. Oh, the age of the man. I think that the age of the guy should be like, maybe we'll just go with 170 for now. And he'll just explain that he met a guy who told him a procedure that he considered to be a magic procedure, but he had been studying it and he perfected it into a science that allowed him to live longer than usual and with unusual health benefits, that he did not age, that he got younger looking, he stayed around like 40 years old looking, but like a little bit healthy, you know. I got a very, very healthy young 40-year-old, and he just kind of just balanced at that point. And so maybe he tells her that, but yeah, maybe. Well, just but why not? Do it. Put it in. So, so it's official. He tells her that, and then so all is well. He's got to go. He takes off, right? Because he's a traveling businessman. And then it's just the normal tunnel system and all that. Meanwhile, there is this debate going on between two guys who are wanting to be the mayor of the town that is, I guess, the Houston, Galveston general area. Might be just Lamarck, because, I mean, whatever, like the middle town, right? And, because that's just the middle between Houston and Galveston in Texas. And so there's so basically there's these two guys, right? And one of them owns the system and the other invested in the system. Lots of people invested in the system, but they're both running for mayor. That guy, he has all intentions to make his own tunnel system, but he was thinking above ground, actually raised above ground. And then everybody would have just like lots of little trains, just one little train, everybody with maybe lots of stuff that they would carry behind them. And he's like, that's fine, that's just your thing, I'm doing my own thing over here underground, obviously. And, you know, they're okay, but the thing is, they're not getting along. The guy doesn't like that he doesn't know where the tunnel system is, for example. He wants it because it's better than what he thought it was going to be like. He really likes it, and he understands now that because it's underground, it's private. And, you know, that actually makes it helpful because up there's always people who come in and out and kind of mess things up. And, you know, it's more natural, like a wild outdoors, just like you leave cans of food open outside, the animals will come and take it. And so, you know, he's kind of jealous in a way, basically. So, the issue is, he wants him to reveal the tunnel system to the Houston area, so that, or the Lamarck area, or the area that maybe was unnamed at that point. And he wants it to be the central focus for the city. And that up top will just be lots of park area or whatever, and I don't know, maybe it could be both up there and down, I don't know, it's hard to say. But he just basically wants to own it. He's just a villain guy. He's not that bad or anything, but he wants to own it. And he turns into a villain basically because he wants it so bad that he decides to get the police involved, saying that it had to be dealt with in a public way because he's going to make it criminal. Meaning, he doesn't want the guy to have his own police force or something to deal with it because that could be corrupt. And so he hires a guy to go and kill somebody down there, and then have somebody take a bunch of pictures about how the tunnel system is bad news and that it should be made public and all this stuff, right? So, you know, and that they should have public police officers from the United States government and all this stuff. And so, he's just trying to get the opening to the tunnel. He just wants to know where it is, basically. And so he's trying to get some legal hip hopper to come down and swag the rest of them, and then just get their shines. Just like see whatever happens. But it goes a little too far because the woman who died didn't die all the way, and it was this horrific scene. Became this huge newspaper thing when the news was already spread. He spread it all over the news himself, and then everybody wanted to know. So there's investigators looking all into it, and sooner or later, somebody leaks it. I don't know, from the visitors or whatever, or somebody. I'm not sure exactly. I'll just make that up right now. Let's see. Who leaks the information? Maybe the guy himself. No, somebody with him. I don't know. Let's see. Visiting. Somebody visiting. Yep, somebody visiting. Sees the girl in her hospice bed and everything, and had already seen the newspaper. So she maybe snaps some photos and writes her own story to submit to the newspaper. And the thing is, she would have died, right? They were the photographs were pretty gruesome and showed terrible gunshot wounds, and the expected death of her. So that she's alive is fine, but the issue is she looks like a zombie. Basically, I didn't want to use the word zombie because it's not like she has no brain or something. She's just like a normal person, but her skin quality is dead-like. She doesn't smell good anymore, you know what I mean? And technically she doesn't have a pulse. It's that kind of thing, It's like, ooh, this is a little bad for you, We don't know the cure to this one. So, they're treating her real nice, and, she just does her normal thing. She still works and stuff. But, she's obviously somewhat disabled because of the wounds. And the fact that she's actually dead. But alive somehow. And so, it becomes this thing, and I guess at one point I'll make a choice somehow to release her. Because maybe since her contract is technically over, as she's no longer living, technically, that she is able to go free. So, she goes out to the world, perhaps. I just came up with that, but, we'll make a decision when we decide to make the show. She goes up, and then she speaks for herself. Obviously people are in disbelief. It's just some sort of weird fraud just to get popular attention of the tunnels, I guess, or the mayor, or who knows. But she definitely looks dead and smells dead. But otherwise is in good health. And the basic thing is perhaps somebody will even shoot her. They'll be like, this is a fraud, be dead with this sin or whatever. They'll shoot her again in the fucking head or something terrible if you want it to be that bad, or straight in the heart. And then they'll just be like, oh no, but then she still won't be dead. She'll just be like, oh shit. And they'll be like, what? And then they'll be like, oh my god, this is gross. So, the thing is, it gets a little out of hand. She escapes. They think she's a monster. It's this horrible scene. She gets away into the tunnel system. Luckily nobody knows where it is, so, it's no big deal. And, so she's down there. And I guess this is the thing. At one point I was thinking that somebody else would die. It could be completely by accident, honestly. It could be just some old electrician guy or some shit was just or maybe not electrician, but an old handyman guy. Is just doing something. And yeah, maybe he got fucking electrocuted or something and fell down an unusually large shaft or something, and it just could happen, It's a tunnel is, old, and it could be anything, It could be literally he's drunk or something. And so, it could just, it's not like the movie has to be this horrible thing, but the thing is, I was thinking this guy would be really, really old anyway. Like, he's like 80 or something, but he's walking around, he's like, I'm pretty good still, But then the shit will be like, he'll like climb back up and shit. They'll like go down and find him, and then or like, maybe he's like broke to shit, but like, he's obviously still alive. And then as time goes by, he like regains his ability to kind of just jangle his shit around, and then they're like, oh fuck, another dead dude, like another person who's a zombie. What's going on here? Maybe the tunnel system is cursed, or it's some sort of blessed curse in a way. And so the show could go on, I don't know, to infinite realms. But the concept is that once they realize that something's going on, that they're curious to know what's causing it, and whether or not they can what is the deal? Is it that you are just alive? I guess I'll have to write that all out, but the concept, the basics behind what people be thinking is like, maybe we're all going to be alive whether we die or not. And and then maybe the girl will just bring it up, and she'll be like, well, there's this guy, or maybe she'll tell somebody in secret or something. I don't know exactly. I'll have to write a little bit more of the relationships between all of the different workers. I was thinking that there would be it could be anywhere between like 10, 50 workers or something like that. And these various people would be all different kinds of races and ages when they died. And perhaps only one of them, or maybe some portion of them will be like to less degrees of dead. And it would be like, are they just old, or, you know what I mean? There's all degrees of people amongst these undead people there. I was thinking, here's the deal. I was thinking that some of them would be just as healthy, just like the guy, and it's just because they lived a certain way and they didn't consume certain foods or something like that. Or they, something like that. Or maybe they had all died of starvation at one point or something like that. I don't know. But I was thinking that, here's the thing. They were going to be quarantined right down there. That's the issue that I'm working with. And that is, they're quarantined down there when they realized that it was the health thing. Maybe the news comes out because she told somebody, and then they go to the boss. How about that? Because they want to know. Everybody wants to know about it. It's becoming this big attraction almost. People are asking, is it a fountain of youth, or is it some sort of zombie curse or something like that is causing this strange thing to happen in Houston, Texas? And so what I'm thinking is, how do I say it? There will be a bunch of different people. It could be all kinds of different original American settlers, Alaskan, Japanese, whatever, Irish, anything, Ireland, African, Antarctica, I don't know, fuck, whatever, like South America, did I get it? Canadians, just a bunch of these people, and they'll be all in different conditions. Some of them that died from unnatural things, and others that died from natural stuff. That backstory could be unfolded in So the idea is this: the guy down there, obviously, people want to know, is he going to be able to get back to his practice studio now that he's talked to these people, right? Because he might have to bring them up there, and he might have to be like, oh, please, no, just like, you stay here, actually, and I'll just go. We'll seal you back up, turn the electricity off so you can't come up the elevator, nor can you open the doors, and we'll just leave you down there. So, that's a really tough one to just say that straight to them. So, obviously he'll say, well, here's the deal, like, you probably shouldn't go up there because they would probably, take you and put you in a jail or something. You couldn't just walk around up there and act like you weren't dead, right? And they'll be like, well, no, yeah, obviously, because that's already happened. He's like, well, yeah, it's not safe, so they'll have to stay down there, and he'll just say, well, I promise that, I'll continue to come down here and we'll figure this out. So, I guess part of the crew will decide that they want to get out, and so they'll maybe double cross him. At one point when he gets down there, they'll be waiting, and then they'll like tie him up or whatever before he can turn the switch for the electricity or whatever, reconnect the electricity, or disconnect it so that they can't escape, right? And okay, well, I'll just back it up. We'll just write a page where he originally sees one of them, he gets scared, he runs out the door, after he turns the big door closed, he cuts the electricity again, and then, he just goes back upstairs and just, thinks about that for a little while. It smokes a little bit of weed and plays some Pink Floyd or whatever. And, so that page is now in there, somewhere way, way back. So back now, he's already learned that they're nice and all that, except here, way up here, they're going to double cross him, they're going to get out, and they're going to do their own thing, right? The issue at that point will be that he has, at least shit is already ruined, such that he can continue all the way down the tunnel without fear that he would contaminate, meaning if he ever gets too far down the tunnel and is unable to close the door, then he could potentially contaminate the world with these people. I don't know. Here's the thing. How about we'll say that the guy even did experiments where he let loose mice into the world to see if the mice can reproduce, and if the offspring of mice, maybe we'll just say that he shows an experiment to somebody, another doctor in private or something, where he shows that if you inoculate a mouse who has been already given, okay, here's the thing. If you have a mouse and a mouse who has been inoculated, I don't know, maybe we'll just come up with this stuff later. Or maybe he shows the very science that when they mate, that the offspring will be born with the eternal, with a potentially eternal life. And then I guess he would maybe or maybe not. I don't know if he knows. I guess we'll just have to say that he probably did know that if they died, they would still be alive. So yeah, how about we'll reveal that later on, that he actually knew that if she died, she would become a zombie-like woman, but with her brain, or maybe he doesn't know because he's never seen a dead person who had been inoculated with his serum. So, I don't know, we'll write that in. Give me your input. And so, the concept is this. The doctor shows that these second generation mice can then potentially create a set of mice that are that live forever, right? Which sounds awful, but I mean, but you could do it with any animal, I guess, right? And or as long as they're within a certain bounds, meaning if they're able to live free and do their own thing, a mouse could live potentially forever, right? Because it can always find more food, and basically all it has to do is chill and find a little stone or something to hang out under, and that's it. That's all he has to do. And as long as he doesn't get literally like eaten, his, you know, just such that there's nothing left of him. Because if you're a mouse and you get eaten, and all you are is just a chunk, and there's no tissue, so you can't be alive still. You know, your skeleton is not going to be necessarily dancing around. I guess that's the limit. But or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe as long as. Maybe they'll even show that even a freaking skeleton mouse can be there. Something like that, at least. I don't know. Obviously, I could write in a bunch of different stuff. It just depends on whatever you want. You know, if it's like, if you want to see lots of mice, you can have lots of mice. If you don't want mice, you could just have a few mice. I can make either work for you. It doesn't matter. You know, what do you want? I don't know. I know what I want, but I mean, you have all the money. So I'm just trying to make a story for the world to see is cool. And the basics of the morality behind the story is not a horror story, it's a love story. It's a love story of eternal health. These are normal people. They want love. They want to become good people, right? It's the same as you and I. And so, you know, it's not like there's these rabid mice that are going to just come and kill everybody or something like that. I mean, you could, if you want to take a story, and yeah, this is like 15, 20 years of stories inside of this stuff. So yeah, if you want an episode about the killer mice, you got it. Killer alligators, whatever, I don't care, it doesn't matter. Anything that he inoculated with, it doesn't matter. But here's the thing. It's not necessary for us to try to make that story any longer than it has to be. The point is that they just prove that they can do this, and the reasoning behind it is that they know that the guy knows the consequences of his work. He knows that if he can complete his work, then he can potentially cure all illnesses, and that he could even resurrect death. That he has the ability to revive and reanimate death, right? He just knows that, and he's following his heart as hard as he can to go into that domain. Now, we can go deep into the doctor's life, and the doctor may or may not be dead or alive. He may be imprisoned, right? He may be in some sort of weird world where he's already gone into a new dimension or something. It doesn't have to be that far, but basically, we have to go find him. We've got to find a way to bring these people out. You know, obviously they can take a bath, and you know, you just don't want to wash them too hard because it's like an old RV or an old boat or something. You know, if it's that old, you can't wash it that hard, but you can wash it. You know, so they just have to go out there and they, you know, do their best to find out where this doctor is in the world. And she's got his name, she's got his old P.O. box, she's got pictures, you know, she's got drawings, she's got you know, obviously where they can hunt down his old address, you know, and find out if he was a real person, if he's got a current address, all that kind of stuff, you know. And she's very, very hopeful about it. And so, you know, yeah, obviously the guy's going to have his doubts because, you know, he's like, well, yeah, but I mean, there could be 1 million people with that name by now. And, you know, it'd be really tough, perhaps, to find. But then, you know, maybe it could be so easy as he's literally on Twitter. I don't know. It could be, could be anything like that. And so, you know, obviously they have to go and be like, you know, hello or whatever. It could also be that he's in a government prison, a laboratory, and then, you know, somehow they'd have to go hunt him and find him like like a detective or something. And they go, and if they're gonna find him in that way, you know, obviously they maybe found out that he was immortal or something like that, and maybe he talked to the wrong scientist about his work, and then they arrested him and made him work for various, Illuminati or warmongers or, whatever you got. And, it could be that. It just depends. It could be he did all kinds of stuff so far. His story, he's a potentially immortal man. And a very interesting man, I think. So, episode by episode, what we are able to unfold into this piece is a set of concepts, morals for people to consider for the future of healthcare, where we're going to be getting into a new type of healthcare where it'll be people getting older and older, and then at one point, so people are going to discover immortality probably within 50 years. So, unless you guys just kind of wreck this stuff, but it's like, it's just a matter of like A plus B, where A is Sally and B is Jane or whatever the fuck, it's all that easy. And they could just, have those ideas. Obviously, we haven't even gotten near psychedelic stuff, and that's, already proven to cure most illnesses that we could even consider to be vital at this point. And so, it could probably do stuff that is even more beyond, especially if you get into the world of magic, where magic has potions, things that we do not use. There are substances that are not at the grocery store, cannot be ordered online. You know what I mean? Those types of things. He's got that stuff, and they've got that stuff. They, that's the thing. So, if he's a celebrity, it's all good. It could be that way. He could have a friend who's also an immortal, and he's a celebrity, and he could be locked up. It kind of just depends on what kind of world you can go with this. I don't really mind. I know it sounds kind of like Blade or something like that, but it could be anything. Basically, within this world, this guy had a bunch of different kinds of animals. He has animals that were considered to be fictional, and have been ever since. Yet, he has living remains of these animals, and he intends on reanimating them. He just doesn't know, or he didn't know, as far as the early 1800s or whatever it was when they found each other, how to bring back the dead from being dead. He knows in his heart that he has found eternal aliveness, and that is great. Because he's a very healthy guy, and he continuously exercises, He eats well, he's got a good attitude, and all that kind of stuff. So, he stays alive. And healthy, and good. Focused. And he is determined to show that your focus and your centralness is, in fact, what causes good health. And maintains even all age is just a belief system, and he can see that because he's been so old. He's older than old people. They're you don't know because you're so young. Like, you don't even know, But he knows because he's actually like 100 years older than the guy who's like, I'm already 70 years old. You know, okay, whatever. Actually, I've lived 170. Oh, you doctors all say sell your vaccines. That kind of thing's going on his whole life. So he wants to basically prove right wrong. But he has to learn how to open the doorway to the undead. And he has to be able to bring the dead back to life and have them be okay. So maybe we'll show his last experiments or something like that before his unknown, mysterious disappearance, where he was able to reanimate, but with little help, little knowledge as to whether or not the person would regain, or the animal, I don't know, maybe he'll do it with the animal first. Meaning, like, maybe he will put the animal through the procedure of becoming a living zombie, perhaps. And at that point he'll realize that he doesn't understand whether or not he wiped its memory or what, you know, because it can't speak very well. So he'll have to do it on a person, and the procedure may be similar to the Frankenstein or something, you know. Maybe he was the real Frankenstein guy. Could be that easy, you know. Or something that Frankenstein was made up after a real story of a guy who had figured that out, and he maybe the fictional ending or whatever, you know, ... But, you know, it could be something like that. It could be something similar where he makes a person come back to life, comes back to life, but they don't know. But the thing is that, you know, that guy, he had a heart still. So, you know, it's hard to say. Basically, he's looking for a way to put it all together, right? He wants to be able to raise the dead, but then obviously they have to be able to heal themselves back to their normal ability, and or even be able to assimilate organs into their new body if they have to, because, you know, a lot of the time he would give the guy a new liver and he'd live for another 15 years, but then sure enough he would break it and then he would die. And so, you know, he wants it to be able to be something that they can he understands that maybe that would be weird because he may be able to make new kinds of animals, like he put a wolf head on a man, would he become a werewolf or something weird, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, obviously not all the experiments work and all that, but some of them do. And so he's working towards finding this ultimate cure, especially for those who are involved with the eternal life serum, because he knows that those are at least in good health, and he thinks that perhaps somehow there's a link between all of them. So, okay, just getting back to it, I'm going to take a puff of my pipe here. Okay, so let's see here. Well, I want something to happen fast because I don't want them to have to deal with this dead woman and all these like dead people trying to act like they're not dead. It's gonna be really hard to hide, you know. So we gotta make it easy for him to find the guys who can maybe help. Because here's the thing, okay, at least he'll be able to maybe like give them a temporary boost or something like that, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that maybe the guy, because obviously he has his own medicine, he's able to give himself his own medicine all day, any day. And so obviously he's going to be in good health. So if he can get all these old people to the doctor, then he can perhaps do some fixer-ups or stuff, you know, like you have your gear or whatever, you can take it to somebody who knows how to fix it, right? Or whatever, your cars or whatever. Trains, if you want to train. You definitely want to get it fixed, right? You're not going to just leave it there. But, yeah, I mean, you know, that's the deal. He wants to get these people to the doctor so he can check them out and then bring them back to partial health, or do it the best he can. And as fast as he can, because it's not going to be nice. It's not going to get maybe seen by public people if they try to hang out around there too much. Okay, so with that all in mind, they are able to maybe come up with Halloween celebration. And can potentially, if they could find any doctor, really, they could probably put some fluids in them or something like that, you know, and then just have them run around and sit them on fluids and stuff for a little while. And so, you know, that kind of thing, just at least so they can just get something going, you know, because if they've been down there for so long and they're just not taking care of themselves, it's just going to get worse and worse. Well, maybe not. I mean, obviously there's a point where they're just going to be like, I'm just totally dead. My body just had it. But, I mean, potentially have help, yeah. So, okay. How about we'll go with somehow... how do we get in contact with the doctor? Maybe he looks up the doctor's P.O. box somehow. Maybe he goes, or maybe just looks him up on the internet, and maybe he literally has a page on the internet where somebody's like, I found this weird info about this guy when I just tore down wall in my condo in England or whatever, and I found this room full of all this extra stuff, right? It's basic detective kind of stories. And so, you know, he reads through the web page. You can even do a shot where he has a little wheel and he hits up and down and he's reading. Who's this guy? Says that he's vanished or whatever, or maybe, you know, something like that. But maybe he goes to the maybe he goes there. Maybe it's this easy. It'd be kind of funny. Maybe he goes to this guy's his little memorial museum thing that they made about his odd stuff or something. It could be that easy, or it could be in some sort of safety deposit. If you want a safety deposit, I'll write you a safety deposit. For now, I'm just going to go with he has a memorial. And so he goes and visits the memorial, and when he's there, maybe he finds the guy. Literally, because maybe the guy is just, he put up like a closed sign kind of for his business, but it was just to officially vanish. You know what I mean? Like, that's a metaphor, but meaning maybe he put up that information just to, it's not like he wanted to change his life. He's already been all over the world, but he just wanted to be like, alright, that guy is gone. I am me, this guy. And so it could be either that the guy comes and talks to him, or he finds him somehow because he's just literally across the street or something weird. I'm thinking it could be that kind of thing where, you know, it's any level of detective. If you want to go like, oh, he finds this, but then he finds like some writing, you're gonna go that route, we can find it that way. It doesn't matter. What do you want? What do you want? That's all I care. You know, we'll just go a little deeper. Say it's like a detective show. You know? So he sees the writing on the papers and on the boxes and stuff, and he sees little maps and stuff. He's like, oh, I'm gonna follow all this and take pictures of all. You know, it's all. And so he does that or whatever. You know, and then he tracks it down. He's looking at it, and he goes to the church, and oh, there's the writing on the side of the building. Oh, Harrison Ford, and then, you know, oh, da. And so, you know, he he does all the basic detective stuff, gumshoe stuff, got on a boat even, you know, it doesn't matter. And, you know, he's following the little maps of various compatibility with the city, etc. And then, you know, he just sees him across the street when they're... No, I'm just kidding. But it could be anything right there. That's the thing. I'm just starting right now for what do you want? And so the idea is, once he gets this guy, you know, he talks to him, and he tells him or whatever. Maybe the guy's like, you know, and I could tell there's something going on with you. May I ask what you're doing, you know, at this museum, while you're, you know, at this particular place at this point, you know, because, or whatever, he just kind of leaves it there. And the guy's, oh, well, you know, maybe he just had some weird-ass conversation with this guy just temporarily, and he's, you know, just wearing some sunglasses and has a hat on and a trench coat, and, you know, he's just like, acts like he's part of maybe the security of the library or something weird, you know. And, you know, maybe just an anonymous man, no branding whatsoever, just would like to know what it is that you're doing over here, because I just, you know. Then they'll just be like, oh, well, actually, I'm looking for a particular guy. Or maybe, you know, maybe he keeps his secret or something because it seems a little peculiar. But maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just says, like, honestly, I'm just on a search for this guy who was a guy that I am researching. You know? Any kind of, whatever you want, doesn't matter to me. And so, you know, and then, so the guy's like, okay, well, it could end there, or it could be, sexy. You know, I'm trying to just make it the sexiest, coolest show, because I want to earn money, because then I want to use this money to talk to various regenerative medicine clinics and see what types of things we can get moving, so that we can get maybe into a new realm of extended life, perhaps we'll get, if not eternal, within our lifetimes. And so, you know, I have this conversation with this guy, and the guy could usually do certain things or whatever, I don't know. In this particular instance, I'm going to say he is interested in this guy because of the amount of information that he's assembled about this particular doctor. And obviously, you know, you want to know whether or not this is a good guy. Is he some sort of old school Nazi or something or whatever? But it's really the doctor. And he's just hanging on the trail. Maybe. I don't know, it's hard to say. Why wouldn't he come back is, I guess, the question. And I guess the reason why he hasn't come back already, or maybe he does, I don't know. Let's see. Perhaps he is captured. Maybe he finds a guy who's also trying to find this guy. And so we'll go with that. And so he finds a guy. The guy says that, you know, he's actually looking for the same guy or whatever. And maybe he would, it sounds very Indiana Jonesy right now, but, you know, basically, maybe he somehow gives him some more information that he didn't have. You know, obviously, if there's another guy searching the same guy, he could have different information. And, you know, depending on if they are both, the thing is, the doctor, okay, so why is that guy looking for this doctor? Maybe for the same reason. Maybe he knows about the eternal life serum. Maybe this guy is inoculated himself. Could be lots of stuff. Let's see. We'll go with, I'm taking another puff after the break. Let's see, I'm gonna go with the, I'm choosing from the menu. Let's see. I'm gonna go with he leads him to a laboratory where he promises that the guy is there, being held under observation. Obviously the guy's going to be skeptical. He doesn't know if he should just trust some stranger or something like that. So maybe the guy has been turned. Maybe he has had a change of heart emotionally, and then he reveals that he's either the guy himself, or a friend of his or something, where he led the guy there and then they arrest the guy, right? But he was had by the time that the guy found him at that particular spot in the library or whatever. Right? Reading that one particular book that was only one copy of it. And he just didn't know that. Or whatever, you know what I mean? I mean. So, the guy is stuck there. They want to know if he's a zombie or something, like if he's an eternal youth. And, it's another one of these guys that's hunted him down after all these years. And, he's just like, no, I mean, I just found him on the internet. Maybe just sticks to the story or something like that. I don't know, but then maybe he already, that kind of thing. But, I guess at one point they'll have to, he will maybe reveal, this is all maybe, what if. That's my basic principles, extended what if for eternity. And he talks to the guy. He's wondering whether or not he can convince him to go visit the woman. And he wants him to see that, he could go do that. So, either we skip this whole plot about him being under supervision, that he can't leave, or, we keep it so that we can make it such that he had a reason why he hadn't returned. So, we'll say that he has a change of heart. He has figured out eternal health and has inoculated the serum into a living woman who is not dead, and he has fallen in love with her. We'll go with that. It's an easy way, right? Would you come back? I mean, to a dead girl that's stuck underground, probably gross as shit. Even if she is alive, if she was eternally dead and maybe he couldn't cure her still, or maybe he just moved on. She's doing well. They're both very much alive, and he's doing well with his research. So we'll say that it's something like that, right? And that he decides, obviously, he's gonna have to escape from this because this guy is, not to be turned. But if he reveals the secret that he knows about the zombies, which obviously, or not zombies, but the undead, that he's going to have to. Sorry, that guy just rolled up. Wondering whether or not I should go say hey. Anyway, take another puff of my pipe. Anyway, so the idea is this. Hold on, that's just it. If he reveals to the doctor that he knows where the zombies are, sorry, they're not zombies, I hate to call them that, but they're not alive. And in their research, they consider them all to be zombies, right? Because they're scientific government research, so they think that all the dead are just living dead. But he still has a heart, and maybe these people have a different serum or something like that. Where his original serum kept them undead, and then all they can do now is not alive or something. I don't know. Let's see. How does he know? Maybe he knows that she's still alive, potentially because he may have seen the library's newspaper, right? So maybe he knows technically that he still has a responsibility to cure her illness, as it is unnatural for her to have. And she would not have death as an illness if he had not given her eternal life. Or eternal life, basically, but not eternal life. So, his emotions, my wife, or this other girl, and she's my ex-girlfriend, and she's dead, and basic kind of man emotions, but, you know, I might be able to bring her back to life, but then obviously she's gonna want to get married again. And you know, I'm just kind of one at a time kind of guy at this point, unless you want to get freaky or whatever. But I don't know if she's into that. You know, it's some basic stuff. So, obviously he's got his issues to deal with, and so you know, he doesn't know whether or not to tell the guy at first about that. So, but he also has to escape somehow, right? So he's perhaps able to use that to get them to at least somehow show where it is, or maybe they can just, you know, it's a tough one right there, because if he tells them, then they might be able to just be like, all right, we're just gonna go and find out where the entrance is. But maybe they don't know where it is. I don't know, it's hard to say. Houston has changed so much, they may not be able to say exactly which entrance it was and what it may look like nowadays. But nevertheless, okay, so how about we'll say that, I don't know, somehow they get it out of him, or he says, all right, like, check it out. I don't want to be here forever. I don't want to be your science experiment. I'm willing to show you something that may be of some interest to you involving your undead. Yet, I am not willing to give you any information unless you take me with you and I escort you there personally. You know, old school tourist style. So, you know, obviously some negotiations, I like your style, you're an older man, etc. You remind me of myself when I was younger. And so I say, alright, obviously I could double cross you, but perhaps for now I will, how do I say, I should read a vocabulary book to get into using words. My basic 90s vocabulary I learned when I was 14. And so he says, I'm happy to accommodate your wishes. There you go. And so, yet, obviously I could double cross you. So, with that all in mind, and knowing that I am not necessarily a man of sound judgment nor morality, I bid you a fair adieu into the world. Please show us the way, or whatever. He says, okay, well, obviously, I could lead you into a trap where there would be no way for you to murder me, and then you would be arrested. He says, well, you better be telling the truth then, because I happen to be immortal. And he says, okay, well, I'm gonna have to not know if you're bluffing or not. So for now, if that's true, then I'd have just got to say that if you are immortal, that these people are alive still, and that they want to be healed. If you can perhaps heal them, it would be their wishes. He says, obviously I want to go get these people. I'm not, some monster, nor am I a bad scientist. So he says, alright, well, fine. And what are you to do with me? And he says, well, alright. I'm going to have to put you under arrest, and you are going to have to be part of my organization. If you try to run, we could easily kill you, or we could turn you into a spectacle that would be the end of your life anyway. So you might as well just stay part of my help. And so he says, alright, well, that's fair, but I'm not necessarily interested in becoming immortal at this point. The guy says, that's okay, because that's just one more thing I have to worry about if you do, so, I'm not going to waste my shit on you. It's my own personal stash. So, basically, he leads them to the tunnel, goes down there, and obviously they recognize it at one point, or maybe the one guy does, and he's bringing some guards or something. How about that, And so they take him down. The guy takes them down the tunnel. Let's see. I am the guy. I take them down the tunnel, and I show them what I found there. At that point, I guess I would be taken and given handcuffs when I got to the elevator after I turned on the electricity or whatever, because obviously they arrested me already, and this isn't like I can just flip the switch and then be like, aha, now cure these people or else I'll tell the newspaper on you, which would be funny. But obviously I'm not that kind of guy, so I'm fine with the idea that for now I'm going to at least get them down there. And so yeah, I'm coming up with the plan to double cross him. Of course he's coming up with just as many plans to double cross me. And so I get him down there. I show him what's going on, and after the break I'm going to take a puff. Also wanted to get an energy drink. Brought to you by Energy Drink. From Jack. Jack and the Beanstalk. Alright, so let's see, what are we doing here? I am taking the doctor, 2 guards, his wife, maybe, and let's see, a few other people. Maybe there's a lot more. Maybe he brings like 20 people that stay upstairs. He's got some extra cars because he's got all these people to lug away. So obviously I could show them, but they're not there. And then I'm like, oh shit, where the fuck are they? And then he's like, what happened? Did you let them loose or something? And then he'll be like, oh, well, it could be he either did let them loose or he just hid them away. I don't know, it's hard to say. Maybe they just had intuition. Maybe since the girl, I don't know if I said this earlier, but way back when she meets the guy, she shows him all these pictures and all these maps and stuff that she drew herself, that she said came to her in visions about how to meet the guy and how to take him to complete his work as the creator of immortality. And so obviously that sounds very important, and if he mentioned that to them, then obviously they're going to want to do it. So he goes down there, all the info and everything is gone, the people are gone, and maybe it's because the guys that escaped, they found the switch and they figured out how to hook it up. While he was gone and captured, they went back and they opened the door, let everybody out, and then maybe they're hiding somewhere. I don't know, it's hard to say. I want to say that somehow he was going to hide them in his own apartment or somewhere, that he was going to hide them. And I could probably work that in pretty easy if you want me to right now or in a few minutes. For now I'm going to go with, so he gets down there, and the concept is, did they or did they not at this point be found? If he finds them right now, it's dun dun dun. Then the wife's going to walk up, and then she's going to meet, and they're going to be like, who the fuck are you? And you're married, and you said you'd stay with me forever, and then it's going to be some horrible vision that maybe the girl has. And then maybe by the time they get down there, she went and hid, and they think maybe he double-crossed them, or that is some sort of joke, and then he's just saying, no, like, this is the end of the joke, this is for sure, this is just me wanting to be able to help you guys, so please don't fuck around. I'm going to go up there, and I'm going to do some detective work. We find them, then we're going to be able to bring them back, and I swear the deal is still good. So basically, you know, they're exploring the tunnel system. He says, all right, search tunnels, you know, head to toe, whatever. These people are to be in the back of my vehicle by the time we're back in my location, wherever Transylvania, wherever he fucking lives now. And so, it could be whatever, you know, Antarctica, I don't know. Something easy, I don't care. And so, I mean, for now, just X, please. And so, you know, I'll go transparent. Kind of. Alright, so, I mean, let's see. I'm gonna go with maybe they find somebody, maybe they find some remains, maybe they find some maps. You know, it's basically a detective story. And, you know, he's looking for stuff. If he does find somebody, they, you know, he can find, he can ask them where did they go, etc. What do you know? And they can tell him everything that they know. He can either just go into the diaries, he can go footprints, looking for evidence of were they there. You know, he can maybe smell them, you can see their footprints, you can notice the difference between the dirt and literally trail them. And, you know, it could be that easy. So he starts to see, you know, the doctor is quite an interesting man. And he's very much like himself. And so he, you know, he wants to get free, obviously, but he doesn't want to be gone of this man. He wants, in fact, the man to continue his work and to, even if he was somehow criminally insane, he's still beyond his understanding of medical involvement, and he is in the presence of a man who obviously deserves respect. Right? I mean, easily. So, regardless of the strangeness of the situation, he's intending on keeping his relationship with this situation as hard as he can, even if it was to become so slight of death that it was a pinprick, that he may know that he may live forever. He still wants to be so close, that he may know this knowledge. And the allure is, obviously, as it is for all those of the undead, that perhaps he can cure the dead even, and that if he was to be pricked with eternal life, that he could potentially be protectable in the way that he may live forever, become a god. Well, you know, he has all kinds of visions of it. So he's thinking about it. What is he gonna do? They keep the man with him, obviously. He's already in custody, so there's no worry. He obviously knows something is to be going on because he knew about the people, and then he can maybe even say that girl's name and everything, you know, was the evidence that was necessary for them to go on a journey. I'm getting tired, sorry. I'm gonna have to eat some food or something in a minute. But this is the basic intro of the show. They want to hunt them down. He's trying to get them to be okay with each other, even though maybe he's married to that other lady. And then obviously the woman who used to want to be married to the guy wants to maybe potentially kill the new wife, but then that's contradictory to the entire concept of eternal life thing. And no, that was not her idea. She's now in conflict with her own heart and everything, and she probably was not one to think about emotions so much. Take a puff, hold on. so what is it that I'm talking about here? I'm talking about various plot points that are involved with something about how they're all hunting each other and where they are. Right, so where they are. Did he somehow send a message? Did he get them free before he came back? When he realized that the guy was in a jail cell, did he tell them, or did the girl have visions again? Right, all these types of things. So, the concept is the guy he's now in custody of the doctor himself, right? For following the trail too closely. And so, like any man of unusual wealth, he wants to protect his world. And so he's got this guy, Okay, so the guy's scared, right? He's not sure if he wants to get stuck with some sort of weird vaccination or whatever, worse, killed. And so, that's part of the story. I could have a little conversation, mention that or whatever. And let's see. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking that he knocks the guy out. Bam, we'll just say that. He's knocked out. And they took him back somewhere. Old school style, just like back in the day when they would drive the investors in black painted windows with a bag on their head, back of a limo or whatever. Or maybe just a very long Cadillac. something whatever. That or a Buick. Could be any kind of old school shit. Or whatever. They're in the back of a car. He wakes up or whatever. Or maybe he could wake up in the fucking lab. Don't matter. He could do it with the he could probably just hit him with a dart. Or whatever, just stick it right through his shirt. And so, he wakes up wherever he wakes up. And then they have a conversation about so this dry ass fucking weed. Sorry, it's not weed. And sorry, that was me. But I just want some water now. I'm just like, so sorry. I wish I could cut that out, but that's mine. So basically, he takes him and trying to make up this whole thing for you to prove it it's worth it. Not even stop. It'd be like a 10-hour video instead. And so, alright, so we'll say that he wakes up and the guy, obviously is there. He tells him he's decided his fate, or hasn't, We'll say if he does choose his fate. This could actually be a that'd be cool. What if we make a choose your own adventure? And this is the choose your own adventure movie. It'll be called that. The Help. Choose your own adventures from Choose Your Own Adventures. I would like to make a movie called Choose Your Own Adventure. I'm gonna post that on Twitter. Put it right here. And so the idea is he tells the guy that he is going to, the doctor tells the guy that, he's going to keep him there for an indefinite amount of time, that he can at any point choose to be inoculated with the serum of eternal life, but will be imprisoned indefinitely, under the supervision that he will be kept in good health as to assure his knowledge of the serum as he has his other various subjects, test subjects, if you know for sure. They are kept separate, but he has many, and it is perhaps unveiled to your delight, Guillermo, that within his bounds he has many animals, all of which are eternal. And the thing is, when the guy is like, okay, so if I'm going to be getting older, how about we'll say this? Okay, well, I'm going to hold on. I just had an idea. I was like, what if he puts him in the pit with the animals? And he says, if you choose to be not inoculated, you will have to live amongst the animals and survive their beastliness, the ones that are even deadly. And if you do not survive, it is proof that you should not have the right to evolve. Right? You could get real seriously Darwinistic about it and just be like, it's survival of the fittest. I have my own eternal life, and I have chosen, because of my particular situation, to find ways to, with wealth, accommodate these animals safely. And I have chosen that I do not touch them unless it is under my scientific supervision, me tranquilizing them, etc., having trainers, this type of thing, as it is to assure that I have a extended, safe life, and for me to not endure any damage. This is because I have accidentally inoculated myself with eternal health at this point. Meaning, if I had discovered somehow that I was eternal, then I would, my mindset may be different. But as is, it is not my goal personally to challenge nature in the way that is without the use of my own understanding of medicine. Meaning, he wants only to work in a scientific atmosphere. And he says, if you choose to, I understand, to die for this, then you have a principle that is within my understanding of you as a man. But if you choose my route, then I will not force you to live in that pit or be even a part of it. You'll become part of our royal fleet in a way. And you could work with us, but obviously you cannot double cross us. Especially nowadays, because we can implant you with tracking devices and all types of things that you would never be able to find. And so he says, okay, well, obviously you definitely have something going on here, and I am interested in both, and I challenge you that though I may be interested in your serum, that it does not mean that I am not interested in developing a relationship with the animals, as you teach me perhaps about your medicine, and then maybe we can find a cure for fear, or a cure for just everything that may cause a disruption between the animals and the man, such that I can live with the animals and they would never double cross me, right? If I could be given some sort of vaccination that would prevent me from being ever double crossed, then we would be able to be in complete harmony in a way, not only between you and I, but between all of us and the animals and all that. And he says, well, that is exactly my mindset in a way, and that it is that if I can find a way that I cannot be killed, that eventually the animals would be not interested, even though the goal is essentially to re-inoculate myself with a vaccination that cancels my eternal life, and that I am able to die whenever I want to, personally die, to experience death, and it will be through a natural life where I'm not even a predator, but I can literally die as a family of a lion, perhaps, and that they would treat me in that way. And I said, well, this is actually very interesting. I mean, that's my own personal vision for guitar, but I don't have any medical stuff right now. He said, don't worry about it. So we'll get there. With your eternal life, obviously you're a fraction of my age, so it's not like I was always perfect either. How long will it take puff? Or get some water or something? Alright, so let's see how long this video is. No, maybe I'll just keep going. Alright, let's keep going. Well, okay, I kind of want to know. That's not even bad. That's 1 hour and 37 minutes. Alright, so I can do about another hour. Let's see. And, I could do like 10. Alright, I'll do 10 hours, alright, but I might have to get some food. Alright. Maybe we can try and get those V8 something. Why can it pause too? Alright, so Alright, here we go. We don't want the doctor to double cross the guy with some sort of zombie serum, right? That'd be totally awful if maybe the guy finds out. At one point, one of the guards is like, don't do it, he's like, what? He's like, he's gonna turn into a zombie. And he's like, what? And maybe it happens in a dream or something. Ooh, fucking weird, right? Scary. He's a dream where a guy tells him in a dream, he's like, don't, just, you gotta get out of here, man. He's like, what's wrong? He says, no, whenever he gives you that, you can't do anything but what he wants you to do after that. You're not allowed to have any other thoughts, and you're in your body, but you only do what the guy allows you to do. And it's even though it's interesting because you get to see this very luxurious life that you can never leave. You can never leave. For some reason, it doesn't really cross your mind, but also sometimes you wonder. I guess maybe something weird like this, he'll be like, I'll show you a vision, I'll show you a vision. He'll tell him one time he saw his sister, and she was like, "Oh my God, it's you!" Da da da. And he couldn't answer her, and he would not admit that it was him, even though in his mind he was like, "It's me. It is me." But he was like, "Sorry, wrong guy." You know, talking like in other languages or whatever. Just, and then she'll be like, "But you just this scar," and like, she's like, "What?" You know, and it'd be all, you know, confused, conflicted, etc. And he'd say that he wasn't just, and that's when he realized that he was not just some immortal or something like that, but that he was some sort of mental slave that was his worker. And so he says, you know, like, "I'll tell you how to get out of here, because I've learned a way to disobey him." And that is, you know, he has some sort of code word that came to him in a dream. It's a name, you know, and or something like that. And then he realized that when the guy came and said that same name of that girl or whatever, or something like that, or somehow it'd be related to that place, that he's able to temporarily regain access to his motor movements, and he's going to free him. He wants him to trust him and just run and just take off and hide. Maybe he'll tell him, like, "Go somewhere that we can't find you, because if I don't know where you are, then I cannot tell him where you are." Something like that. And so okay, that's pretty good. So, you know, I'm working on it. I guess any conflict with that, I don't see any conflict with that one right there, so I'm just gonna kind of keep. And so the idea is, I really want something to drink. Hold on, hit pause. Alright, I'm back. And so the concepts that we're working on right now are, let's see, the guy, okay, right, the guy, maybe, okay, here's the deal. When he displays to him the pit, that live animal world, where he intends on putting the man, if he does not decide to take the serum willingly. He tells him that in that pit there is a button, and that he can run and hit the button and they'll open the door. You know, he's not it's not perfect, but like if he gets in the door and then, you know, closes the door, then he can avoid any sudden deaths or whatever. And so he decides to maybe do that. Right? So the idea would be, if he did get hurt, could he potentially give him some sort of regenerative medicine that would heal him right then, right? Ultimately right then. Because then that might be the next level. So does the doctor not have the ability to cure a living person to become an immortal? Well, I mean, I guess at that one point he'll say, "Alright, you did say you were immortal, right? So if you have found a way to not only have eternal life, but also eternal health, that you could potentially show some experimental data or subjects that proves that you can in fact help me regenerate, and that maybe I'll take the chance if I did accidentally get hurt, but you could. Also, something that is going on would be. Hold on, too close. Da-da-da. I really think I want to get a burrito now. Maybe if I could continue this. Oh, that'd be kind of cool if I took this in the car and then talked about it while I drove to Taco Cabana. I like that idea. Okay, hold on. That's cool. Alright, hold on. I'm gonna talk a little bit more just to make sure I get those. Alright. The point of what's going on right now in the story is the conflicting values of life and death. And the potential of there being conflict with death and life, in that when a person is dead, we want to know that when they are brought back to life, they will be the actual same person, right? And we assume that they will be, right? But then there are these horrible stories of these creatures, these undead, these things that came back to life, and they were not the same person nor animal. They had changed, and that they were villainous, as if controlled by some sort of demon, monster, Satan, whatever you say. And I want to know that when we do die, we can, in fact, remain in control as we are within our lives. So the main issues of these things are that there are in fact ghosts, and that if your body has a soul and that your soul exits the body, then your soul can inhabit another body. And if it does, it would have to leave that other body, potentially, to come back to the body that you were going to be in. Meaning your soul is kind of like a CD, one vinyl record, one cassette tape. And regardless of the vehicle that you put the cassette tape in, or the boombox or whatever, that you have to be that particular cassette tape. Meaning, and maybe we'll have to get into cloning for this, but if Sally died, we know that if she comes back to life, that she may be Megan, and she may be a different age altogether. And she would have to be completely reminded through hypnosis as to what it's like to be Sally. There's also the problem that sometimes when you bring them back from the dead, that they are in a heavenly bound, either heaven or hell, and they behave as such, with disregard to their lives as humans. There have been known circumstances of an angel, for example, cannot do anything, but rather does only things that are perfect, even with disregard to its own life, as it is willing to sacrifice its life to prevent ill will, such that it will even move on to a new body, because as is, it's only going to be looking for a new experience such that it can be free again, right? So meaning there's a specific instance where a girl was given her life back, and in the effort to make friends and to keep peace, she stood knowingly in a place where she would be killed. And she did so openly, and she died knowingly, and said so how she was going to die as it was happening. Suddenly happened, and they were under the understanding at that point scientifically that that type of thing could happen. Likewise, similarly, demonic presence, rather different, more chaotic, destructive, willing to take other people's lives, willing to create mess for people that was just insane, conniving, not necessarily interested in death or leaving that body, and much more like a terrible wild animal that must be contained, but with the living mind of a human type animal. Very, very troublesome, and obviously would require a serum to reverse its immortality. Right? So, obviously they don't want to deal with some sort of terrible circumstance as such. They do know how to promise immortal life. Right? So the guy, he doesn't know whether this dream is a nightmare, a vision that it's not real. Nevertheless, the guy says, you must run, etc. in the dream. He remembers it. And then when it comes to the situation, the guy shows up, knocks on the door in the middle of the night type of thing. He comes to the door, guy doesn't speak or anything, but he stands there, opens the door, waits for him to come outside. There's nobody there, that type of thing. Something like that. I don't know exactly how complex it would be. It could be also, I was thinking that maybe it's while they take him down the halls or something like that he can just double cross him and let him escape out of some sort of secret hallway that is usually requires some sort of extra code or something like that, or he has rewired it, something like that. Could be, however. You just, and that's what I'm asking you. So, the idea is that he's able to give him enough information there that he can get out the hallway and he can get to a situation where he's in the upper hand. And the reason is because he must find a way to assure that he gets the original serum, and he believes that he may have to find the undead in order to get it. Now, I was thinking that somehow that the girl originally had somehow some of this serum, and that she wanted to. Now, this is an entire backstory to go with the original episode that I cut out because it's X-rated. But I wanted it to be that she comes on to him and that she wants to make a baby with him. And he's conflicted because it's not only is it like unsanitary, but that it might create some sort of undead baby or something. And it was either that, or I was thinking that she had a copy of the serum and that she wanted to inoculate him with it. And so I'll just say that she has a copy of the serum for some reason. Maybe he was a different man. Back in the day, he was a much more loving, giving man, and he had fallen in love. And that he said that he wanted her to have that, and to not tell people about it or something like that, just to keep it for herself, and to know that if she was to ever fall in love with somebody, that she could inoculate that person with the serum. And maybe that would be his promise kept, even though he was gone. That maybe something had happened to him or something like that. So, it'd be something romantic. I don't know. I'll just go with romantic. And so, yeah, I'll go with that, because then when he leaves, let's say he jumps, right? He gets out somehow, and because of the knowledge of the corridors, etc., that the guy has witnessed, even though he is a servant of this doctor, and he's able to find a way that he knows that it's just too hard for them to literally get out of there fast enough from that particular point. Could be a trash chute or something like that, that kind of thing, because basically if they go down the trash chute, well, I mean, maybe they'll go down the trash chute, but maybe he locks the door or something, or fucking shoots it or something, something like that, whatever you can come up with, where they can't get through, and he just says, I'm sorry, but, or whatever, for a second, he has control, but, I just can't live this way or something like that. Maybe he just shoots himself in the head or something. And then, or whatever, it could be various things like that. So the guy maybe gets out of there, and, or the guy can stay alive, doesn't matter. It's up to you. It's up to you. You vote. Choose your own adventure. And so, the guy gets out, basically. And he wants to get back because he's like, oh shit, I gotta get that serum, because at this point, they may be hunting me already, but I've double-crossed them after all. I know all this weird information about their particular place. I don't know where I am, but maybe, with help of these visions or something weird, I can get back, and or whatever, that kind of thing. Various information could have come to him in history. So, I'm gonna take a puff on. Okay, so the concept is the girl, right? We want to know, they all escaped, but where are they? She has visions about what's going on. She has all these maps, all these information, It's the information, whatever for Spanish. And, you know, she is wanting to find a way to get the information to the guy, right? But maybe, okay, so we don't know at this point how much she knows, right? Maybe she knows those tunnels so well that she was in there hiding, right? Could be cool. So we'll just say, turns out she was in there and she did see them come in there and search the whole place, and she did see the man, and she knows that he has changed. And so she still wants to go and get in contact with him, or at least find a way to steal his knowledge in a way, because there's no way she knows what the hell he's been doing. But, you know, if she can get him to combine the efforts to get all the vision that she has, that they can in fact fulfill the prophecy that she's been talking about. And so yeah, she wants to get in there. We'll say that she's spying, and she let's see what happens. So she's got her crew, right? 10 to 50 different people. We'll have to keep it to a minimum if there's like 50 dead guys, you know, anywhere, unless it's somewhere like in a refrigerator. You know, they're gonna be pretty fucking rank. So how about they figure out that or something, right? They'll put their heads together, and the crew is somewhere in a frozen, I don't know. How are they going to get away with being there? We'll say, alright, so they either are somehow in an air-conditioned place, they maybe hopped a train and got north, they maybe got an air-conditioned truck, maybe they got, we'll go with somehow, okay, they got an escort, because the people are not all dead like that. Meaning they have various they don't age in the same way. Like, they don't get older, they just get aged if they don't keep healthy, right? So one of the cleaner, more alive like guys, he goes or she goes or whatever to, or maybe they go and they talk to various people about ice, and they want to know whether or not they have ice trucks, because they want to transport a lot of meats. And so they say, yeah, no, we can get you an air-conditioned truck, actually. And I'm like, oh, so you do it with machinery? And they say, yeah. And they're okay, so we would definitely like to have one of those. How would we get that? And they're like, okay, well, it's gonna cost you some money, which is paper or on a card. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, what? They're like, so where are you guys from? They're like, we're from Galveston. And they're like, really? I didn't know things were that different out there. I'm like, well, it's been a while since we've been to the city, yeah. And they're like, okay, well, can you afford this amount of money now? And they're like, well, maybe they'll even have some of that money. Obviously they were paid very well at first, so they'll have all these like really ancient dollars, I guess. And not that old, but like couple 100-year-old dollars, all these like cash $100 bills and stuff. And so they'll be like, oh yeah, these will work. And so they rent out this truck or whatever, and they take it all the way, I guess, to maybe they even buy the truck, I don't know. Because the thing is, they'll be like, how about they'll have a conversation, they'll be like, once we get it there, we'll want to keep the meat cold, right? And then also because if we take it back here, then how are we going to get the meat all the way back up to, Canada or wherever, near the ice so that it can stay cold? And they'll be like, oh, the guy or the girl, whoever's talking will be, okay, yeah, that's a good point. And they'll be like, no, like, you're just, obviously the guys will think that's kind of weird. They'll be like, why don't you just leave all the meat there and then you just drive the truck back, or have somebody else drive it? And they're like, okay, yeah, we could have somebody else drive it, because then, we could stay with the meat. And then, like, okay, yeah, you guys are pretty new at this, huh? They'll be like, oh yeah, it's very new business, that kind of thing. So, rent the truck, they get on the road, and they are heading towards the ice, maybe somewhere as far up as they possibly can, or they can maybe try to go all the way south, but it may not work, especially since they don't speak those languages probably, but they have people in the group who can, so they could potentially go wherever they wanted to. So we'll go with north or south, doesn't matter, anywhere cold. So get a little V8. Alright, so they'll make a decision, choose your adventure. Would you like to go to anywhere cold? And so they go wherever, right? And that's how they choose who is having conversation for the truck or the ice truck. So they get the truck, they go somewhere, and at the same time, right, the guy just escaped, and he's gonna try to track them down. So I guess the main issue at this point is the girl has these visions. We want to know, does anybody else have visions? And we'll say that they probably all do pretty much have some sort of visions on it, or maybe some various degrees. And so we also know that she can, or some people can somehow concentrate hard enough to contact the living telepathically. So we have that. The guy's on the run, right? He's gonna try to just, I guess, get back to his apartment, but then that seems kind of tough because they probably know where he lives or something, and he may have a GPS. It's tough. So where does he go? I'm gonna go with, the guy gives him information and he says, just write these words. He maybe shows him a bunch of visions about a map, where to go, corridors, various people, doctor this, somebody that, whatever, and he says, just write this down when you wake up and, do this. And so, he writes it down, right when he wakes up, and then all that stuff goes down later, where they were taking him, gonna inoculate him with the other virus to become a mental slave to the doctor who's immortal. And for unknown reasons, other than just because he's an out-of-control doctor. And so, basically he wants to follow these instructions, get out of there, get to the girl, get that inoculation if possible, because he's scared at this point that they're going to inoculate him with something else, and at least that way it can be in conflict in the experiment, because he will, you can't take a constant and change it to some sort of variable, or change the constant, and you know what I mean? Like, the experiment is, he wants to know, okay, well, we don't know for sure, I guess, at this point, because we haven't said for sure in the show that the guy does or does not know what the consequences are of inoculating the people in that order. And the point is, the guy knows that the zombies or whatever that the guy made that turned out to be the undead in the tunnels that he met are alive and well and have their own free will. Whereas, according to his vision, those people are not under their own free will, but are just under his persuasion and his limitation, right? According to his vision. So we'll have to achieve something where he's like, he'll maybe have to test. He'll go up to him and it'll be like, what is the test? What is the test? He would ask him, how would I heard, let's see. Okay, I'm imagining it might develop kind of easy like this. What about, he's having dinner with the doctor and his wife, some of his guards. And he says openly that he had a vision. And it allures strange interest from the wife. What do you think about that? I think that's a good one right there, and I'll tell you why. Because it may be that the wife has also had strange visions, has or has not been inoculated with the virus that gives her will to him, right? And it may be that, what if, and this is what's going through her, dun, 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 dun. You know, all these things are going in his mind, like, so maybe he'll have a conversation and ask the guy, he'll be like, have you assumed the responsibility for things that may have happened in the aspects of love and immortality? And what is your consideration of those particular ventures? As surely one must have in immortal life more than one lover. And he says, well, I know that you're speaking of this woman. And he says, well, I know that I told her certain things that you have alluded to. I'm no fool, whatever. Yes, I at one point was a man who promised an immortal love. And it is in fact still part of my scientific studies. Though I have not, or maybe he'll just have to ask his wife whether or not she is experiencing an immortal love. And perhaps she would say, of course she is. So, the concept is, when he mentions that he had a vision, and he begins to tell them of a vision, perhaps not the vision that he had, but a vision, as he's decided maybe to keep it a secret just to test out what it is that he's getting into. Sorry, I guess I won't have to tell you that, but I mean, that I'm talking about myself. This is all true stuff, I guess. In my mind, it's real enough. And I want to know how to make sure that the woman herself is of her own free will to be the wife of the man. How about I would tell her something about... I would make up a lie. I'll say that I had a vision where the most beautiful woman I had ever seen told me that she loved me, and that we were both immortal spirits, and that has a way to be alive on the earth, and that she wants to inhabit the body of a woman. And then I will say something like, it may have been your inspiration through your experiments that explained reincarnation of the spirit, but from my dream, my fantasy, she told me that she wanted to be in a body of a woman of age appropriate for my age, immortal, and that the woman was a living woman who would then be technically dead, because she would have to leave the body. I have to reword this such that it's more romantic. But the concept is, I'll tell her this vision, and she will look at me and tell me, maybe that just sounds interesting. But in her mind, later that night, maybe they're making love, the doctor and his wife, his wife, that wait, let's sorry, hold on, gotta get on the beat. Okay, what am I looking at here? Let's see. Okay, where are we on the story? We're looking at... the girl's hidden, right? She and her gang of undead, of various undead, right, are in a discreet, cold location, living out their lives and doing their own personal research as to where this guy is. We do know that she's following her heart, or whatever, her soul, to make sure that she gets thing. Everybody's hunting each other, right? Everybody's hunting each other. The doctor's hunting the woman. The guy's hunting the woman, and all of her crew. I haven't gotten to any of the other crew members yet, or except for the one guy who died. The second guy died. They all intend on being cured of their death. And back to the story. So the guy is in custody with his doctor, and the doctor. Oh wait, no. Well, okay, yeah. He was, and then eventually he escapes later. So he's talking to the woman instead of the wife, and he has these weird visions. Maybe in the vision even she talks to him. I don't know, something like that. I want to involve her in the visions because if she's involved with the visions, I want her to test her love for him, and I want it to be that he found a way to create slaves mental slaves, even though they're willy-nilly about it. They don't act like, oh, I'm no slave. They become his mental property in a way. I guess the conflict with it is that though he found a way to find his own eternal love, he did it at a price, in that she does not have the freedom to want of her own desire outside of his personal wishes or understanding. She knows this, and I guess during this time in the show, it will be primarily a vision quest and an assembly of kind of a orientation to the guy's new life. Let me clean up that rain mess. Alright, so the concept is the guy is now doing his own little mental detective work to see if the wife is under her free will or if she's a slave, and whether or not he can find out any of the other workers are verifiably in some sort of trance that turns them into just the help. So, he knows that he has to jump ship, right? Figuratively speaking, just kind of moving along here. I'll close this window. It's a little bare. So, okay, so how does he word it? He wants to know that she's not going to pick up on the truth. He tells her that vision is true love vision. And then maybe he can ask the guy. He'll say, well, alright, he did ask the guy or something. Somehow the guy brought it up that, his search for eternal love was maybe met, he'll say. He says, well, maybe when he found the woman here, that he had found the answer to his desires, his deepest wishes had come true because he had found eternal love in her. And he would say, well, was it in the end of one of your needles, perhaps? Just joking, I'm kidding. And then have his own little way of dealing with it. And maybe the silence will say, and maybe the woman will ask, perhaps, so the visions, that she'll just ask for the dinner to be ended, to be taken to bed early. So, the concept is that the guy, he wants to make sure he's not being double-crossed, because maybe the guy is setting it up, right? Obviously, the guy could be like, I can even read these guys' minds. And if the guy even tells you that you can escape or whatever, don't believe it, Maybe that, it could be that deep. I guess I haven't decided whether or not the doctor knows that or not at this point. Hold on a second. Hold on. Hang on. Okay. Alright. Okay, here we go. Get some nose drops there so I can breathe a little easier. So here we go. The guy wants to know for sure that he can trust this guy. And so I wanted to have more conversation, perhaps with the wife. Just a few more little words in with her to make sure that she is in fact under the persuasion of the man. Maybe the whole thing is a myth, you know, maybe there's no way that guy can control their minds. How would he know for sure? Maybe they obviously want to be there and it's just a nightmare. It has no bearing in real life, right? These thoughts are going to be going through his head. How to show that though in a film? Could be through a bunch of visions. I kind of think that maybe this entire part would be, you think that you're watching the show, but then in not so much a David Lynch style, but you know, maybe you're not watching the show. Maybe you're watching the dream of a character in the show. And then, you know, you get to see maybe different various levels of characters. So maybe they'll even have a wink in there at one point where they have been all having these visions, and even the doctor himself perhaps is, you know, inoculated with his own serum, such that he is in control of his own mind, but in that same way he is a slave to his own mind. And in such, it can be that the man does not agree with the concept that he would become a slave to his owner, that who is also a slave. Right? These kinds of things. I'll try to make it less conceptual, more imagery. Okay, so the questions. How does he know for sure that they are all who they say they are, that they are in control? Maybe it's what the undead say when he sees them. We'll say that. We'll say that this has no power. It's got very little power. Alright, I'm going to charge my phone over there. Alright, here we go. Back to the seat. Part of the movie. I'm looking at a part of the movie where they're at a dinner table still. I like them at the dinner table. I think that keeping them there is intimate, and getting a lot of this out of the way is very interesting. Basically, he has a question on his mind, and that is, you know, in his mind. Okay, right. Maybe it's this easy. In the experiments, he sees the monsters. He sees the angels, and the angels and the monsters have their kind of banter that they spew, and he sees what they say from an outside perspective. The doctor sees it from the perspective of a trained professional, right? So he says, obviously these words they say, they mean nothing. They're nonsense, mentally ill, and though they are related to the occult, there's no such proof of any of this stuff that they say, and he suspects it's just part of the collective unconsciousness of the people. However, they mention different facts to the guys or something like that, maybe one of them like whispers to the guy or something just to like fuck with him. I don't know. Let's see. He can either say it loudly, obviously, and the other guy can hear, or he could say it to the guy just to create more chaos. Basically, he knows part of the names of the people, or he drops names, right? One of the demons or the angels or something drops names. I was thinking it could be a demon because the demons are a little bit more chaotic. Could be an angel too. Doesn't matter at this point. I'll make it up in a second, depending on what you would like, of course. And we'll say that just for a moment we'll play with this demon. The demon is playing Chaos Demon, and he wants to say that he knows about whatever the girl's name is or whatever. We'll say they have this weird conversation, another tricky conversation. It goes like this. The guy tells him that he knows about the girl. And the guy's like, oh, don't listen, Or how about this? And he says, what do you know about this girl? He says he knows about her visions, and he knows that he knows where she is, and that he can lead the guy there if he wants. And he says, how do I know that you're not tricking me? Okay, well, shit. He would have to be like, did you ever, he doesn't know whether or not the guy mentioned the girl somehow, and that he just heard them. He could accuse the demon of overhearing their conversation or something, or that because he already knows that the guy knows about it, that maybe he'll accuse the demon of overhearing, or he'll say, how do I know that you just didn't hear the doctor talking about her and you're here just to trick me, to see if I'll let you free somehow, or to get you to convince me that to feel for you. And we'll go with say something more peculiar. It's kind of what I'm getting at. I want him to get a little bit of an extra hint here, where he's like, here's the thing, I could stay here, and then maybe he'll mention the inoculation. He'll be like, I know about your visions too, and then he'll be like, kind of like freaked out. Oh no, like what the hell? What is he gonna say here? And he says he knows that. He says like you're gonna be a slave to the doctor, or something like that. And he's like, how do I know that you just see fears or something like that? And he'll maybe have to give him like, let's see, I guess he'll just have to say something like, he could say, you just don't know for sure. He could say something like, he would have to say something, that would continue the story, of course. But I mean, obviously he could say a lot of different things. Maybe he says that, I'll say, well, you never know for sure, but let's see. Maybe he'll even play with them a little bit. I'm trying to drop a little bit more hints so that he's gonna maybe try to mess with them. But let's see. It's just the demon here. The demon he could mention Satan. He could be like, the ultimate truth is that the doctor himself is a slave of Satan, because Satan is the victor of medicine, and because Satan chose to end his relationship with the natural earth, and that he became, well, I mean, I'll try to work this out, but we'll say something kind of like that, where he says that he doesn't know it yet, but if the doctor were to die, then he would become a slave to Satan, and he wants him ultimately. I mean, he's trying to challenge him in a way. Maybe he says, "Are you challenging me to desire to murder the doctor. And the demon will say, well, you could never know for sure, could you, from your point of view, but and he'll say, and you certainly wouldn't want him to do so, but you certainly wouldn't want your fate to be achieved in this fashion. Hold on, let me reword this. Okay, the basic concepts that I'm working on right now are how to get a hint that is inescapable. I'm working on a hint that is inescapable such that he figures there's no way that under their free will. Okay, well, he wouldn't know for sure, but how about this? Some hint. He'll ask, he'll try to figure out whether or not they're collectively connected, first of all. Because he wants to know that the central doctor can't read the minds of the people around him. As is, if you're experiencing a vision like he is, he wants to know. Oh, sorry, I'll try to just only tell the words. But the idea is this. He's gonna start joking with the guards. He's going to say, let's see. He's going to say things like, so I heard that they got a serum that can give anybody freedom. Even in hell. And that he's just how kind of playing on that old psychological reverse psychologic test thing where it's like, that your employer is keeping the shit from him, But how's he gonna work? He's gonna work with them for a little while or something like that, and then, here's the thing: if you choose to get inoculated, then you will go down a road of you'll be part of the guards. You'll be in these very extravagant galas of enormous wealth, free to fraternize or whatever with whoever you want for whatever purpose within the bounds of the doctor. As you have to remain this guard, and you must remain as possible. Easy. Right now, he is choosing to have jumped because of the strange information. So I don't know if I have to backtrack as to when he made the dish. It was during the vision. The vision was a dish of, do you want to believe in this world before you're inoculated tomorrow? Or do you want to go and find the girl and achieve your original goal before they permanently change you, potentially, such that when you get back, you're going to be different? So, that's the basics of that vision, right? And with that is, do you want to act on the discovery of this vision, or do you want to become inoculated under your free will at this point with that knowledge, or with that psychological thing? And so, I had chosen at that point for that part of the story that he wants to go choose a world of the rescue of the girl and her somehow negotiation into the organization such that she can remain safe, but perhaps not necessarily safe, right? So all right, let's see. The conversation. What are some key points? What would be? It would be. I'm gonna take a puff on and think about it. Okay, I'm having visions of when he shows him the room with the undead. He shows him the demon and he shows him the angel. The demon says these things. Maybe one of the demons or whatever. Something, starts screaming out like a monkey kind of. Here comes another one. Right, here comes another one. Here he comes to become a slave to the master. Something like that. He goes and talks to, or he goes and, he goes to the angel at one point, and the angel looks at him deeply and perhaps looks to heaven. And then maybe shows him, let's see. The visions could be things like either directions, meaning like pointing, or it could be things like more detailed visions. Okay, so these are not literally angels and demons in aquariums at this point. These are just reincarnations. So the reincarnation, or not the reincarnation, but meaning the alright, I'm gonna have to take a break, sorry. Hold on, where am I? I don't mean to disrupt the story here. Oh, I'm at 2:42 here. Okay, well I did want to do 10 hours. Pardon. So I'm just getting a little tired. I don't have any extra food here. Oh yeah, I wanted to make good. Okay, well let me just kind of wrap it up. Basically, he doesn't want to show him the entire thing, but he does get to a certain point or something, I'll say. And maybe he sees a little bit. Maybe, okay, here's what we'll do. He'll be standing there and they'll be waiting, doing nothing, right? Waiting in a hallway. Let's say, okay, here's the vision. They're walking down one of his long mini hallways, right? Underground or not, who knows? Built like a prison. It is a containment unit for all of his experiments. And he shows him all of these different things. And he has no intention of ever letting him go. He intends, in fact, in assimilating him to become a guard. And he wants to talk to him as long as he can before he puts him into his next position. So he talks to him and all that. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's this easy. Down a hallway one time, he's surrounded, guards in front, guards in back, right? 5 guards in front, 5 guards in back. Down a hallway, the guy's gone down into a room temporarily. And one of the guards behind him, perhaps, or something like that, starts to kind of do this thing where he's like, you know, and the guy's like, didn't really think about it, it's just unusual, but, you know, didn't really think about it. And the other guys, you know, not doing anything. All the other guys are just standing there, not even saying anything, you know. Very peculiar, very military-like, very undercover medical laboratory kind of guys. Just, you know, dark suit stuff, universal flavor, stylistic, you know. And so the guy, you know, does the thing again, and so he looks back or whatever, and he's like, gives him a little wink, and so he's just looking at him like, you know, just shakes it. He's not quite sure what's going on, and then he gives even like kind of a weird, somewhat puppeteered like head nod towards one of the doors or whatever, or something like that, or towards a hallway or something. And he goes like, or something like that, you know, starts like kind of doing a little tappity tap of the foot or whatever. So the guy kind of like goes like, alright, kind of like backs up or whatever. And then like, maybe, I'm thinking like something scary is going to happen. Basically, when he looks through a window or something like that, you know, I don't want it to be that easy, but basically a door or something down the hallway, and he gets a flash of just a little bit when somebody walks through or something. Somebody opens another door, and he gets to see there's an aquarium kind of thing. And there's these aquariums where they're not like water, but there's literally an angel in it, and also a demon, or like just one big ass, maybe there's two of them there. And so, you know, he just gets a vision of it, but maybe that's like the conclusion of one of the episodes, just to introduce another topic. And that is that what he has there is he has a quarantined little area that is contact with the outer realms of heaven and hell. And there are angels on the fringe of that where they come, and he's able to talk to them, or maybe they're contained. Maybe we'll just say that, back it up. He has obviously some portal to the world, but he's able to contain them in like aquarium, like contained in their atmosphere. He's captured heaven atmosphere, and he's captured hell's atmosphere, but he's also captured heaven's angels and hell's demons, and they're living in his laboratory, where he can talk to them through these giant thick walls, you know, these big like glass walls or whatever, you know, like a gigantic aquarium kind of thing. They float in there, and it's, you know, it's obviously really weird looking, kind of like a space cloud kind of weird thing or something, where it just is living in there. Kind of freaky. Obviously both of them will look kind of weird, but maybe it's a dead angel and like a dead demon or something like that, or some weird kind of like that, to be determined. And so maybe this is the guy. How about that? The guy that appeared in the dream that was telling him to escape will be the same guy that gives him the head nod that allows him to see this other room that he shouldn't have seen. And the reason why I'm trying to put it like that is because I want him to have a reason to escape. I want to give him a good reason that he can trust the guard who gave him the vision to get out of because I want him to get back without getting inoculated. The reason for that, I mean, I know this is maybe a bit behind the scenes director stuff, but you know, just for a personal commentary while reading the script or whatever. The concept for this is, if he gets out, he can get back to the girl, and he can get into a conflict later on where we can address the vaccinations in general, such that we can make a decision as to how his fate is to be, and whether or not the remaining crew has an extended life living out there where they can't be hunted down, or they get stuck getting caught right away, because when the guy takes control of the guy, he basically gives him the instructions to tell, you know, or to show him everything he knows about their whereabouts and everything, which would then just lead him that much closer and much faster as to finding out where they went, right? He's hunting them down as we speak. So if the guy's not inoculated with the virus, then he won't willingly give the information as is if he has already had the vision, because he won't know who to trust him. So he will wonder whether or not being given the vaccinations, inoculations, would want, you know, he would want to be avoiding that at this point, right? Not only did he not know if he wanted to become immortal, but he doesn't know whether or not the guy's straight up going to kill him, or any number of things could happen, right? So, so now he's having visions. And we'll even say that maybe, well, I was thinking it'd be cool to show the woman's visions. And that the woman's vision. Okay, well, I want to extend the dinner conversation, because the dinner conversation, I believe, could include some peculiarities in the characters that would give away a little bit that they may not be under their own free will. Obviously, if you're in love and you know it, you know, you're not going to ever feel that's not true. So maybe he'll have a vision of love, you know, or not. I don't know. I mean, I made up that lie just because I wanted to cover for a moment, just to see if anybody else had any visions to offer. So hopefully, say, you know, like I just ask, you know, has anybody else had any visions? Any visions, maybe just dreams, I call them. Has anybody had any dreams recently? Those types of questions. And the concept is, I want somebody to give up a vision, because I feel like if they do, I want to see what the level, what is the, how far are the puppet strings being extended into these characters, if it is true that they are in fact slaves. So how about we'll extend the time period a little bit, in that he has the pit, right? So we know that he is opted to play the part of the guy who is learning how to extend his life through the most natural means, hunting his own food and surviving in the wilderness, etc., with wild animals that are potentially dangerous. During this time, I guess, is when he starts having the visions originally, right? easier said than done. That takes a little bit of this, basically. And so, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm going through it, and you know, I've made this decision to do this. I say I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to tell him the visions. And I don't know if he can read my mind, right? That's the thing. Obviously, if he could, he might have been hunting me down, and he may have hunted everybody who's ever even thought of him down or something, you know? It's hard to say, but I would say that, you know, for now, it may be that, I don't know for sure. But the visions are testing. So, you know, it just takes a leap of faith, right? The day of, I decide to, okay, how about this? Something happens. Okay, here's the deal he makes. He says, if I inoculate you now, you're able to have a type of health that would always be a little bit better than if a lion ate you and then I resurrected you. Just due to current scientific imperfections. I'll just give him imperfections. How about that? The doctor now has imperfections. And so the guy says, well, you know, I don't know if you're telling the truth, obviously. I'm willing to risk it for a little while. He plays the game, these types of things. This is not a specific script or anything. And the main thing about it is the okay, here we go. Let's take a pill. Okay, how about when he looks down the hall, or whatever, however we want to display it, when he finds the room where there are the angels, the actual angels and devils, they will be the ones to give it away. Because it is his eyes only that are seeing it for some reason, we'll say, for now, as a backup, we'll say, that, they say, you know, maybe, how does he know? How does he know for sure? This is how he knows for sure. Well, he knows for sure because he hears the girl's voice. So that kind of that rearranges the entire meaning behind the heaven and hell aquarium things, or whatever, I don't know what to call them, ecosystems, or exhibits, not necessarily exhibit, but like containment exhibit. This is what happens if you get to this point in your choose your own adventure, and you have chosen that he is to become inoculated, and he's already seen the visions. When it comes down to the point down the hallway where the guys, like, you know, told him to run out that particular door at that particular moment, you will walk down, and you will be shown that you're walking, and suddenly you're going to hear the girl's voice in your head or whatever, in air, and it will say your name, and it will tell you to run. It will tell you to run out the door, to run out the door. Voila. and then you will run. You will not have a choice at this point. You won't have control of the movie. You will just run out the door. Because you trust the girl. And what will happen is you will actually escape. I'll just say it's that easy. You will get down some sort of particular trash chute that once you get down there, you're just going to have to, you'll run out the door, and you'll hop on a, or maybe somehow you'll just get in the trash or something, and you'll just be taken out with the trash or something like that, right? Something like that, basically. I'm trying to explain why he doesn't have control of this, and it's because it's a quarantine area. It's a laboratory area, and even though he has guards and stuff like that, okay, well, why isn't he in control of the guards? Maybe that guard is also in control of himself. So that's okay. That's what happens. So he goes down there. He goes up, and in the vision, it will have his name on the tag or something like that, and that will be a name that he saw in one of the visions. And when he does go up to him, the guy doesn't say anything to him, but he just sits there in the truck, and then maybe or let's see, how would this work? It could be that that he sees the guy. He goes down there. Maybe the guy just totally just like points at him. We'll go with that. He points at him, gives him a come here signal with no necessary emotion, and he brings it back. So he comes back to the car. I don't get fucking tired. I want to get some food. Sorry. Alright. And so basically, okay, let me do that again. He points at him, gives him a come here. He's holding a clipboard. I am him. You know, I go with him, and he gets in the car, or maybe he like just points at the door, passenger door. He gets in the dump truck or whatever, and he gets in the dump truck, and he just hits the gas or whatever, not necessarily like peel out or anything, but just like takes off like everything is normal. Doesn't really say anything. And at that point you'll be out the door. That particular truck is going somewhere. How will this go? See, this guy, he's like, at this point, he would be more like 300 something years old. So he's gonna be really, really, really good at managing stuff. So this is a tough getaway, right? So yeah, I mean, I have to say he might be, I don't know, see the thing is, I don't know if I want to say that he has mental control or the ability to read their minds, because I want to say that part of even his perception is flawed, in that he wants to perfect his vision, but his subconscious wants to prepare for what is the truth of his vision. Meaning, if he just goes and gets the girl and figures out how to create eternal life, I know this is not part of the story, but this is the reasoning behind it, that he wants to know that he can be in control of it. Maybe he's not admitting, but he wants to, he's scared in a way. In his own, even as a 40 years old man or whatever, he wants to know that he cannot die, for sure. And that if he creates eternal life, and that eternal life gets spread around the earth, that eventually it may be that it causes either a resurrection of all species that he knows about, including everything in his museum of everything, right? Dragons, wizards, of various mixed animal parts, all of the fairies, all of the vampires, the werewolves, the weird underwater creatures, the things that crawl with weird legs, he's got all those things, right? He wants to know for sure that he's in control, that he can assure that the whole world will not just become some bizarre zoo. Because if a dragon can live forever, for example, and we know this, that it eventually would become so brave that it can take over, and they will have to declare world war on it and imprison it. Because it wants to be under no persuasion of the animal known as human whatsoever. So, for that type of thing to get out of control, to maybe have it reach a dragon that could then mate and then create an eternal dragon, this is really bad. And it could happen for any of these werewolves, it could happen for any of these very, very, very dangerous animals, and then they would surely redominate the earth, and we would all become slaves, and then it would, unfortunately, then it would be good, but then you've got to have eternal life and eternal health given to all humans immediately, and it would be this very, very intense. It would be like a world war, but like a civil war between the dead and the banished and all the humans, because basically we're just either food or perfection. You know what I mean? Like, they only want you to be either basically, if you're an angel, then you are their friend. If you are a demon, then you are food, and potentially somebody who can be double-crossed for the personal pleasure of the demon. So, all these very hard problems are going on. I wanted to also give the depth to the doctor that he visits a wizard, or maybe he, in that old occurrence where he got the eternal life serum ingredients from the old wizard guy, that maybe he tells him that, and that he says, the reason why this is so important or whatever, obviously, is because it is the gateway to the supernatural world, because the entire world is just a mental atmosphere of the things that are inhabiting that place. And it's very important, because this type of thing could be given even if it got airborne, for example. If it got into certain viruses that had been not been vanquished, it could bring back certain spirits. Meaning, say a caterpillar eats, let's say your finger gets cut off by accident and you're eternal, and you can't find it. It goes down a cavern because you are so sure that you're infinite, that you are so brave that you rock climb something most absolutely excellent. Yet, due to your fragility of mental state, that you are human and we are all imperfect, you make one mistake to look at the sunset 1 second too long, to slip when an animal must make its move for its prey, and voila, you are now even if you left your blood, if a caterpillar was to eat that blood and be able to mate, and then that caterpillar species had offspring that were ingested. Well, let's see. Hold on. This is all this old guy's theories, right? Let me make sure I understand the concepts of this. I guess he would have to bring up how certain animals are made through interbreeding. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so I just realized this old wizard has some extra knowledge that the doctor hasn't been using as much, or hasn't really talked about in his orientation, and that is the suspecting of the potential outcome of an outbreak of eternal life, and his suspected understanding of how it may be possible that his medicine, his understanding of eternal life, could leave enough understanding within the work of the doctor or whoever else, enough knowledge that it may be perverted and caused to, by accident, give eternal life to even a ghost. I'm trying to explain how that's able to happen. It would have to happen through the goal of the ghost itself, as all things are attracted to the desire. And if there are ghosts that would like to become living, that they can be given special information, is what I'm saying in a way. They can be given intuition in their immune system as to how to regain a body. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but he suspects that, similar to his understanding of resurrection, that it may cause the ability for the ghost world to what's the word for that? Inhabit the body of a living person and expel the soul of the rightful owner of the body, and for the pleasure of what master is the issue. And this wizard is a very I guess you could say he's somewhat religious in a way, in that he does believe in various basically good and evil spirits, and he says that it may be true, all of these various things, and that the human species would surely become humbled, if not exterminated, in the presence of all these living animals, unless they were able to all become wizards, as that was the main reason why he had survived. So, with all that extra information, okay. So these are the thoughts that you guys going through, right? Okay, so meanwhile, the other people are still in the undisclosed location and are having their own visions. And that's the main thing about this particular juncture, is what level of visions, what gives it away, right? I mean, we already know it's like, here's a vision, so he sees it, but it can also be that the maybe the doctor himself at one point says something out of his own mouth that doesn't seem to be in context with his character, or could be out of some sort of kind of more subconscious seemingly type of thing, where maybe he experiences some imperfection, some confusion, perhaps for some reason, and that is what leads to his availability to escape. Meaning, for example, maybe he says something to him one day, he's like, how would he say? He would say, I'm wondering if it could be under hypnosis, under intoxication. Maybe he gets a little too easygoing with the guy at one point, and drinking wine and stuff like that. And, it could be played up like that. Says, just learn to enjoy your life, and just like I have, and all that stuff. And he might just change character at one point and just be a version of his 40-year-old version where he was 170, and he might just, maybe he taps in. How does he tap in? He could tap in like, I want the guy to kind of bring up a little bit of the girl, or something like that. I want him to bring up that old crew, and I want him to get an emotional depth that the guy starts to crack, just a little bit. I just want to see the light a little bit in the character, and assure the guy that the only purpose behind his original work was for the benefit of mankind, and for the purpose of changing the world into something better, basically. Just basic stuff like that. But I wanted to strike it such that he wants him to know that the people there. But see, here's the thing. I'm not sure I'm trying to get it where he knows for sure that they're not under control. So maybe he'll ask, okay, here we go. This easy. Dinner table. He asks him if he's got anything in the bag for slavery. If he's got any sort of, that's a bit on the money, so it might arise suspicion. So, obviously you would not want to say that just like that, but maybe it'll be kind of like this. We'll do it like where they'll be talking to each other, but hold on a second. I got somebody talking to me here. I'm gonna get on the phone, turn this off my computer. Oh, it's over there charging. totally out of juice. Okay. So we got all these parts here that are adding up to the guy wants to be able to get his assurance that he knows he's helping the guy by escaping. In order to make sure that he gets the original stuff without the guy finding it, and then under slavery of some sort of otherworldly presence or whatever, gets rid of the original crew and just takes them over instead of studying them, and maybe he'll bring that up. So you can ask the guy, you know. Okay, so here's an idea. The guy will mistakenly drop a fact without thinking about it. I will just say that. He will tell the guy straight up that at one point he was able to successfully convert a reanimated corpse into a guard that was within the bounds of normal human behavior by creating a way to basically puppeteer them. Maybe he'll just give it away like that. And then that's when he'll start to suspect things. Or he'll maybe not well, okay, check it out. Not after that point, but after he has the dream. Alright, here we go. Alright, so I'm going to say that's another little paragraph there. Slip it in. And, okay, so... Mario. Okay, hold on. Alright, I made a decision about something. And that is this. What he sees when he looks into that room and he sees the angel, it will be an angel, and the angel's going to wink. I'm going to use the wink right now. She's going to look over at one of the guys. She's going to point at him. She's going to wink. She's going to look at the guy. The videotape, whoever the videotape recorder is, will look over to the guy, and the guy will, he'll do this thing where he's like, maybe I'll turn on the video here. The lamp on. Well, he'll start to look, and he'll like do this thing like something's bothering his eye, kind of, where he'll start to wink, and he'll be like he can't control it, and then that's kind of all he'll say. That's all. In his words, the guard will say to me for the vision, or whatever. Obviously, these words. What about? Anyway, so maybe I don't know. And obviously I'm doing this thing when I'm this actor, and so they're showing me this stuff. I decide to run, etc. And the main thing about it is that it's an introduction to this concept. We got the various issues of
They want to all get in contact with each other. They want to make sure that whenever they do combine their efforts, that it is under their own free will for the good of mankind, and that they are able to contact the heaven spirit, hell spirit, and all this. And they can just have a true new understanding of eternal life on Earth through peace and motion of your wishing and your desires and your being in tune with your emotions and all that, and to know that in order to make this work the right way, you have to understand your role as a piece of food, I suppose. And I wanted to bring that up earlier, the concept that if you eat the guy tells him, if that, maybe he knows that if the bird eats the caterpillar, that is the second generation of the inoculated, or whatever. Or I guess just even in knowing that the caterpillar can maybe eat the blood, and that the caterpillar would be then. Okay, so I'm gonna have to say maybe on that one. If I open that, it's gonna be that they may or may not have already had children, right? Obviously, it's been hundreds of years or whatever, so maybe they've got children in the guards or whatever, and the children may or may not be of their own free mind, etc. So that's a whole new box of worms there, whatever. But nevertheless, the concept is they want to combine efforts. They want to know that they are not quarantined off by the armies of the world for being potentially dangerous or not within the realm of the desires of those who wish to keep that type of thing secret, right? Just to keep the world in some sort of suspended understanding of peace. As people don't even like cockroaches, I thought this earlier. So if they saw, a giant man-sized, unidentifiable, alien-looking human/animal thing in their house, or something, or like a little scary looking fairy or something, like a literally, just flying around. There's all types of things, and they wear clothes if they want to. They're tricky like leprechauns and very weird. Of all types of animal versus mystical overlap, right? They're very dangerous, and some cannot be contained at all, as they have the ability to just vanish if you don't even look at them, even if they are reanimated from the body of one, because they live in some sort of time domain that does not constrain them to physical barrier. So, with all that being said, the concept is that he's trying to get back, but then, I guess he doesn't know truly the depth of the place, He doesn't know what he may be able to do if he's able somehow to convince the guy to be, I don't know, maybe just more open to his suggestions as a person or whatever. I don't know, it's hard to say. It's not like the guy has to be evil or anything like that, but I think for the story to be that I discover these dead people, he would have to have some sort of moral issues, and that he may or may not have been able to already rescue them, and he didn't. Right? So the entire story kind of goes out the window if I just like, yeah, and then there's just a big empty tunnel system. And I just told the news, and they put it in the newspaper, you know. That's not as good a story, I think. But I mean, obviously, if I hunted him down, I could have the same kind of story. It'd be like, right, I started hunting him, and, you know, maybe whatever. Could go all that way. I could do another 3 hours of that way, or whatever. Doesn't matter. So we'll just talk about that, you know, if you even ever listen to this. But the concept is basically the ramifications of this special medicine that the wizard has. Now, we don't know whether or not you know that the scientist perfected it, quote unquote, which means that he may have changed it, right? So we know that if this guy is already immortal, that he also may be able to be found. But this is just the information that we have as our own little detectives. Types of things, you know, maybe he's gonna be thinking about that as he escapes on the train. Maybe tagged or not, I don't know. It's hard to say. He might have tagged him already in his sleep the first day. He's just watching him, you know. It's hard to say. Maybe this movie will have narration like that. Sounds alright for now. So, you know, he's thinking about this type of thing. He wants to know, so he's eyeing everybody in the whole place. He doesn't know how far this guy's reach is. If he could have easily just still be tricking him, just to even see if he can lead him back to the girl somehow, and, you know, and swipe her up. And so he rides on with, maybe we'll say he gets away with something. The knowledge of what he saw there. Maybe photographic memory. It's easy to write a story if you got a map, right? You know, oh, he's got a picture of a map. There was a picture of a map. You know, that basic. Oh, well, then you just go where the map is. So, well, you know, that kind of thing. Basically, where you can just try to look up names, or, you know, another kind of weird thing. Obviously, if he was hunting a man who may be like 700, 800, I don't know, 1,000 years old or something, you know, that may be really, really hard, because he may not even have a name. I mean, you know what I mean? He probably doesn't have a home address that's just like listed. We know that if he deals in cash, that he doesn't really have to worry about paying taxes or anything like that. So, you know, but that's on his mind too. It could be so easy that that guy or somebody from the wizard background may just come up and just talk to him. You know, could be that easy. Maybe it's just a pure fantasy movie. Now, why did that guy not infiltrate that guy's base and rescue him? Maybe he didn't want to get caught, I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe I'll just write that, you know, if you want that guy turned out to infiltrate the base. I don't know. It seems a little much. I'm gonna leave that be for a minute. But if you want it, it's easy to request. undead@gmail.com. So, all right. So we're working on this. We're working on this true love, right? The serum for true love, and whether or not he actually found a serum for true love, or whether or not he found a serum for slavery, willing slavery. And, how can he perhaps unite them, and what is the level? I guess he said that he could resurrect and reanimate in general. So, that sounds pretty good, because these people still have their original soul. Now, where does he have the original ingredients, or can he ever get the original ingredients of the original serum that the guy got off that old wizard turned doctor? That's the issue, right? Maybe he doesn't know exactly how to recreate it, or maybe he does, or does he even have any left, or if he has it, where is it? It's important to maybe make the story sensible, and that it doesn't seem too chaotic, like everybody's a super spy, superhero. But I like the idea of the guy being spied on, and that when he escapes, that he's able to get help somewhat immediately without much more of a detective case, because that could take a long time, and it may be that he has a tracking device on him that he's got to get off of him, and maybe the wizard could help him, right? So basically what I'm looking at is this guy's on a train, right? The guy starts talking to him. He may or may not go into a trance and start hearing the mind of the man telling him various things about his situation and what he's about to get into. Of course, the guy's not exactly understanding whether or not this is a vision, a side effect of understanding incarnation, or if this guy is something to help. So maybe in his mind, it could be that he tells him to not say anything about it out loud, but to only think it as he's talking to him. And the reason why I would use this type of approach would be, I want to find a way to test his faith. I want him to reach a point in his faith in himself and his understanding that he can tell in his mind what is pure good and pure evil from the purest and most slight affectation, I suppose you could call it, or image of. And even within the world of the supernatural, and especially in a way that will allow for the show to see help right away. So we know that the girl is also able to communicate with them. So maybe it'll be like this. The guy starts talking to him. He starts hearing him talk to him while he's talking to him. And then the guy looks, he says like, or he hears the voice or something of the girl, and he says, well, how do I know that I can trust you, or something like that, right? And then the girl will be like, well, because you can believe me, or something like that. And then he'll look over, and it'll be the girl next to him, either dead or alive, but in a spirit form. And then he'll just have to say, like, he'll say something, well, this is how do I know it's a hallucination or a reality of all good intent, or something like that. And he says you have to trust in nature or something. Then he says, like, look outside as the sun is setting, and the birds and the various horses or wild animals or whatever are going into their slumber. And notice the peacefulness of this train, and know that at this point, well, how would he assure him? Let me see. To assure him, he has no intention of hurting him, and that he's not just some sort of guy who's just hypnotizing him. So let's say. So he'll just maybe go back and he'll just say something like that. Maybe while he's talking to him, he'll say, well, my faith can extend to you that you give me a link to the upper hand in this scenario. Such that I can assure you. Okay, this is what I'm working on. The girl is going to give something to the guy. He's going to request a way to trust, and they're going to give him maybe some sort of key. How about that? Basically, okay, here we go. He will say, watch closely as the stewardess approaches. And he'll say, look closely into her hands. She has nothing in her hands, correct? And he'll say, yes, this is true. She's talking openly with her hands, whatever. You can see her talking to the customers of the train. And he'll say, look closely at the tray seating for this particular customer, or the table seating for this customer, or whatever, at this whatever booth. And he'll say, listen closely to the conversation right at this moment about the placement of his keys. And the guy will be like, hey, what? Oh, there's my keys, or something like that. Or, has anybody seen my keys? And they'll be like, they're right there. And then he'll be like, okay. And he'll say, oh, there's my key, or whatever like that. And then be like, because I almost thought I forgot my key to my house at the home, whatever, something like that, or whatever. And he'll be like, good thing I got it. I have my heart rate or whatever. And then he'll be like, I'm just going to put it right back on the key ring right now, so that I know for sure it's on the key ring. And he'll put it on the key ring. And then he'll put the keys all in his pocket, right? And he'll be like, or he'll look at him and be like, because I was looking at him, and there's this key that goes to the garage, this key, and he'll name them all, and he'll be like, this one's for the front door, this one's for the, the side porch door, or whatever, and he'll say each one and be like, and now there it is, I got all of them, and I guess I took it off when I, or something, when I, maybe I sat on it wrong or something, that kind of thing, and I'll say, oh god damn, I was scared, and then, so he's like, because I can't, because I wouldn't be able to enjoy my vacation, knowing that when I get home, I'm gonna have to call a fucking keysmith, or something, or think that, the house has a key somewhere on the front porch or something that's right to the house, that kind of thing. So he'll say, okay, good, God, I'm so glad I have all my keys right where they're supposed to be, and put it in his pocket. And then she'll be like, okay, and he'll be like, and then she'll be like, well, that's good, sorry about that, you had that scare. Should I take your cup, tea or whatever? He's like, oh yes. And here, would you take this newspaper too? And then she's like, oh, no problem. So she'll take it, and then she'll like just kind of gently lift it up like backwards and put it under her, or just like put it in her possession, either under her arm or in her hands or whatever. And then she'll grab the cup too. She'll put the cup on a little cart or something like that, and she'll walk back with the newspaper, and then with her hand she's talking again, just in her mind. She grabs the newspaper, and she goes like, "Oh hey, so how y'all doing over here?" And as she kind of waves the newspaper, a key will fall down to the ground, and she'll be like, "Oh, you dropped your key." And then in his mind he'll be like, "Take the key." And she'll be like, "That's your key, right? You dropped the key." And he'll be like, "Yes, that's my key, yes." Or choose your adventure, you could choose to take it or not. But I'm going to say the point is, he takes the key. And this is all while the girl is sitting next to him, right? And the guy will be like, in a moment, I'm going to show you a pair of handcuffs. Okay, this is getting a little complicated, but the concept is this. He says, when the time is right, and you are leading me to her, I will allow you to handcuff me. Okay, and he'll have to say, well, I know this is obviously seems very tricky, but I want you to check these handcuffs here, and just see that it does in fact control these handcuffs. And this is all in his mind, He's telling him this, and he says, you saw that key was not part of that man's keys, right? And that in fact, now I guess you could believe at this point that I put that key there, or that man is part of my accomplice. And you can never know for sure from this point on who is who, but I assure you will never see that man again, nor his family. And they have nothing to do with this particular venture. It only has to do with the science behind mythology, in that in the sleight of hand and the things that we cannot see is an entire world that includes all occult and all spirits and all things like that. And then he'll just start having a normal conversation with him out loud about perhaps that type of stuff or whatever, something like that, right? And so the guy checks the thing. Sure enough, it opens it, closes it. He hands him back the handcuffs. He keeps the key, or maybe he'll keep it all. He says, maybe you just, how about this? He says, do I keep these? And he says, sure, or it doesn't matter. And so he puts, he probably just keeps them. And so he says, I'm going to lead you somewhere, and I'm going to show you something. I'd like to introduce to you who I am and how I was able to find you. And then that's when he'll introduce him to the concept that he is part of somewhat of a police force that he has made that is of some eternal, and that they had become in conflict with that guy, perhaps, at one point where he cut off communication, and he started his own doctor thing where he was a scientist, and he forbid he canceled his reputation as to having anything to do with the occult, and he made a public stance about it at one point, and ever since has been living an immortal, studying it in his own, but that he had many times cut communication and was even hiding from the wizards. So, obviously he could have caught some of them or been hunting them too, as he's also very old. This is all just to open up a big box of worms about this concept and to try to get a series going. I've got 3 hours, 49 seconds. So, man, I said I was going to do 10 hours. Alright, here we go. let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go check with them. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up at 3 hours 50 seconds. That's just a brainstorm. This is how I write scripts. I just kind of talk about them until I have enough details that I can make it into a line by line script. That's all. Everything I've thought about. So anyway, that's where I'm going to wrap it up for this particular brainstorm, to get the aliens there and all that, so that I can get everything back to normal. Anyway, I'll talk to you about that on the next brainstorm.